Hello. Poor Jackie. I just went to start the video and she's literally taking a sip. And we were literally just talking about how we don't know what we're talking about today. And then we tried to start planning and we're still lost. So instead of actually stopping and planning, we decided to just press play or record and see how it goes.
So welcome.
Welcome to Knitting a Good Yarn.
My name's Jackie.
I'm Carmen.
And this is a chatty, chaotic, knitty, fibery podcast.
That's right. That goes for way longer than normal podcasts go, for those of you who are new.
And always longer than we anticipate we're going to go for. I think, if we had one sweaters quantity for every single time, we were like, I don't know what we're going to talk about, and then end up upwards of 3 hours talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
We would have enough sweaters for years.
We do have enough
We do have enough sweaters for years.
And we've added to that pile. Yeah. We've got a lot.
Yeah.
We've got a lot.
So welcome, whether this is your first time or whether you're coming back. We're so glad that you're here.
Yes.
Admin. Okay. Everything that we talk about is repeated again in the show notes. We do a one-shot take. So here we go. It's just going to be whatever it is. And so often we will not remember things because we don't pre-plan our episodes, but all of the stats and that kind of stuff you'll find in the drop-down box below.
Yes.
Where you can find us, our Ravelry, all that stuff
Instagram.
is
Ravelry,
there.
we've been
absolute not great.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I feel like the other day I went into my Ravelry and ran into my projects and I was like, Jackie, you used to be so on top of it. I would write tiny essays. And there's a poem that goes with every single finished object and blah, blah, blah.
That's true.
But I feel like I sort of get that out here.
I know.
And then the thought of writing it
again
again feels strange. I've never been great at finished object photos. That's something that I feel like you do so beautifully and you have joy in.
I still have joy.
Yeah.
Just not doing it. But yes, because I'm here.
And I also feel I really appreciate seeing a knit in motion. We've talked about this a lot. A lot of podcasters have talked about seeing something in motion. And part of me feels when I have tried to take awkward selfie photos, I'm but it doesn't show the garment. And then I get a little bit
stressed.
I get discouraged by the process, basically.
And it makes sense. It makes sense.
We apologize for the absence of Ravelry notes.
Yeah.
That said, the show notes are pretty
Good.
good.
Yeah, because we forget a lot. And I think, today's a little different in that there's I don't know, we've got a lot of things to talk about that are new and ways that we've been she's always modded everything, but I've done that, which is fun. But the problem is when Jackie mods, she remembers what she did. When I do it, I'm and I've written things down, but now I can't find them. So the show notes will be particularly important this episode if you like anything that I'm wearing, because I'm going to not get any of it right. Just so you know.
It's okay. We have two brains with extra brain space, and I believe that between the two of us, we might be able to wrangle back what the modifications were. The other thing that I wanted to mention, I don't know if you guys can hear.
Yeah, we're having a little meal over here.
Is that we have 2 of the 3 regular puppies that are a part of this podcast.
I know, I thought Lily was coming today. We were saying she was
I
coming.
know, I was going to,
We've been
but
missing her.
I have something to go to right after this that she can't go to. So
one of these
days it'll be a special episode with Lily's.
Lily will arrive. Yes. But as you're saying, they can sometimes be a bit vocal. They like to participate at times, but sometimes there's nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Is that everything?
We talked about the thing, the drop down. We talked about how long this is going to be.
Oh, we do chapters.
Oh yeah,
we do chapters. So if you're not somebody who has 3.5 hours to like plop down and marathon, we do have little chapters where we try and sort of split up the different finished objects and the different whips and so on and so forth. So that's another thing that we try and do to make it possible for you to hang in with us.
Find something after when you're,
Yeah.
You know, we know that our tribe is here. Like, we know that the people who are here are our people. You get it.
Yeah, you do get it. And I feel like I'm like looking at the time. Okay, we spent 5 minutes and there's been no knitting content. I swear,
that's
there's
normal.
knitting
We've got
content.
another 5 minutes. Then.
I know for like general preamble. But there is something about, you know, when I am on YouTube and I like encounter a new channel, either it gets like suggested or like somebody mentions it and I go and I look it up.
Yes.
When the person's like, "Hi," I am like, "Hi," like whether I actually like. Sometimes I'm like, "Hi." Depends on if I have knitting in my hands or not. If I have knitting in my hands, then I don't like hi. But there's something about it that's like, "Oh, hi." So hi.
That was really cute.
I feel like I want to make a disclaimer that today I am more than a little bit sleep deprived and highly caffeinated. So the circuitous route that I might take towards making the point, forgive me.
Even more so. Even more so, if you can believe it. Guys. Okay. All right. 6 minutes, we're starting knitting content? Come on. I don't know. What else? Can we talk about our grocery list or something beforehand? No. All right.
You did actually just remind me of groceries that I need to do.
Is that part of after? No, you've got another thing to do.
Okay. What are you wearing?
I'm going to say it, but I'm just, because we don't edit, you're literally getting real time. I'm like, is this good lighting? Like, can you see things? I guess we're fine, right? Like, I shouldn't turn on a light or something? Anyway, it's always so hard because we're in a window. Okay. As long as you can see, I feel like I'm just like a floating head, kind of. Like if I just went here. Like it's just kind of Carmen's head. That's, you know, anyway.
There's not enough contrast between you and the background.
The background.
Yeah, maybe.
It is my house, right? So I do like these certain colors and end up with the same thing.
Or maybe it's that I'm wearing this ridiculously bright color, which is blowing out your beautiful, beautiful green.
I know. It is very pretty. All right, should I start since you did this? Start. Okay. Well, those of you who have been here for now three podcasts, we've talked about this sweater. Mm-hmm. Because 2 podcasts ago, Jackie made this sweater. This is the Easy Like Sunday Morning sweater by Nutiden Yarn Kakafoni, Melissa Clulow. And it's a free pattern you can get through Ravelry. And you will notice, actually, if you go, that the sweater that is like the design is much bigger. It's a much
sample sweater.
Like the sample sweater is much more oversized. Like obviously it's oversized, but it's quite, I don't know, like larger. And then Jackie knit this sweater and she was going for a specific neck, which it wasn't working on her, which she modded. Well, is that what this is? This is what it is. Oh God, we really are talking about this sweater the whole time. Okay. So you'll see her mod, but I tried it on and I loved it. And it was so much shorter than I normally wore that I was like, this is my favorite sweater of all time. And I have to say, I've worn this all the time. I wear it to work. I had a client who literally stopped me in the middle of a session. I'm a psychologist and Jackie's, what would you say? Psychotherapist.
Yeah.
And she stopped me in the middle of the session just to say like, by the way, like your sweater. I'm like, oh, I know. But I couldn't even say I knit it. I couldn't even say I knit it. I was like, oh, my friend knit it. But I could have. No, but anyway. So I've decided that I want this sweater in every version. There may be many, many sweaters coming out of this in the next few months.
In this episode.
Even in this episode, but
it's possible that we're just knitting versions of Easy Like Sunday Morning.
Yeah.
Like collectively there's 4 on the table. So there are little tweaks and we'll talk through them.
Yes.
But it's been really fun to have a base pattern to play with, right?
This is what I wanted to say. So Jackie is really good at, when you knit, you often knit again. Like you'll knit the pattern again and you'll make you'll, believe it or not, you'll learn things from the first and you'll make some changes based on that. And then you'll end up with a great sweater. And I have always wanted to do that, but I have this like personality of like, no, right? Like, so I want to do it. I think that I'm going to do it, but then I've got something else comes up and I just want a new thing. So this was the first time really of saying, no, I like this. I just want this. Just let me do this again. Now I did change the yarn, so that was a bit like different, right? But I noticed that in so doing, you do keep learning, and you're like, oh my God, like I wouldn't have made my sleeves this short. I wouldn't have cropped it as much as I did, but that's actually what I want. And if I hadn't done that, like I wouldn't have, well, maybe I still would have liked it, but I literally had something to work with. And then because I was using a different kind of wool, I had to adjust that a little bit too and kind of think about that. And because this is now, I'm seeing it as a really gorgeous, like, rough draft. Like, it's like, I'm gonna have this and I love it. But my next one, because I've been waiting for the Sonder mohair is in. It's in.
Halo, baby. It's Halo time.
So I've been waiting for that. That should actually arrive today. I've got some. Anyway, so I've got that one. I know I'm going to be making that. So when I was making this one, I'm like, I just happen to have this yarn and stash. And I'm like, okay, so now what do I like? How do I like it? Because it ended up being a similar base to what I'm going to be doing in the Sonder. So okay, let me show it first, I guess.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Now, I literally cast this off this morning. I literally finished it and was like doing the, cutting my, like literally just weaving in my ends and cutting them this morning, like right before you came. Hey guys. So it hasn't been blocked. So that's going to be a part of things. But for my next one, now I know exactly how much I knit, which is a lot less than, well, actually, I think it was to pattern though. Anyway, see, this is what I'm saying. I don't actually know anything, and I'm just going to like be talking as we go.
So did you cast on size 1 or size 2?
I cast on size 1.
Okay.
And
did you follow the pattern? Did you follow the instructions that I gave you for the pattern?
I'm glad they chose the most annoying toy that they have. Like that's awesome. I did follow, what did I do, Jackie? I have to look at the pattern again. I think I followed it all the same.
But to these dimensions, correct?
To those dimensions.
Yeah. So you had the dimensions for this.
Yes.
And then your intention was to, because I also knit the size 1, and you knit the size 1. And I believe that you followed the pattern, and if you made any changes, you made changes in order to hit these dimensions.
Yes, exactly. But I am remembering, I think this might have been one of the sweaters, or one of the only sweaters. I remember feeling like you followed the pattern on this one. And I was like, whoa, that's surprising, because she never does. So I'm pretty sure most of this, like even this, but yes, I kept holding it up. This was exactly the same. Yeah. Like everything, the gauge was the same. Mm-hmm. I should say what I've knitted out of.
Yeah.
Because this one was knit out of Nutiden, which is an for those, you're like, please stop talking about what that is. But it's an unspun wool from Sweden. So a very different texture, right? And it made a gorgeous sweater. And so I was really interested in the original, which is a DK BFL Masham
75-25.
Spun, not unspun.
It's a 2-ply woolen spun.
Woolen spun, thank you. Was it woolen spun?
It's woolen.
It's non-super, and it's not
non-super wash.
That's what I'm trying to go for.
Woolen spun 75-25 BFL Masham plus
DK plus a mohair. And as I said, I was waiting for my shipment from Sonder Yarn, but I was so like needing, I'm telling you, I'm just living in the sweater. So I'm like, I need another one. And I looked at my stash and I forgot that I had this wool, which was from Brittany at Crux Fibres, who's over in the Yukon in Canada, like way up north and west. And she had the same blends.
delightful.
Yeah. But what's so funny is it's very different. Like both, even though it's the same blend, they feel different, but both gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so this is both of them happen to be in the colorway, Not Enough Houseplants.
I love this colorway. I covet this colorway.
I've loved it. And funny enough, I bought them separately too. Like I had gotten the DK, and then I think Brittany she might still have, you should check it out because she had a sale on some of her old, like the mohair. Anyway, I
don't
got
have
it.
It's not there. Oh. I looked. There's lots of beautiful things, but not there. Although Brit is actually quite lovely about doing customs.
Order.
Yeah, dyeing to order.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's amazing.
So I was like, oh my God. So I have just, when was this? I forgot to look. I'm pretty sure I cast this on about a week ago. Oh, maybe week and a half. It was so fast. And the thing
short.
Is, so short. And I've been knitting other things. So this one's just like you're on, I think, size 10 needles. Mm-hmm. Is that 8 millimeter? Oh God.
5.0 millimeters. Size 10 needles.
No, because 5 is.
Oh, sorry, 6.0.
6.0.
Needle sizes get us every time.
Did I say 8 millimeters?
Uh-huh.
That was really off. That's really off. I love all of our I
know you're screaming at the TV now, right? Like you ladies.
How would you even think it would be that? But
it's because I use it a US 8. That's why. I knit on a US 8 and you knit on a US 10.
That's right. Yeah. Because Jackie is a lot looser than I am, and we ended up with the same gauge.
Mm-hmm. Which is
15?
Somewhere between 14 to 15 stitches.
Per 4 inches.
Per 4 inches, which is off from the pattern. The pattern is 16 by 20.
Right.
Yeah.
So it made it a little bit wider than I did make it. Because it is like...
The finished bust size is 45 inches.
Okay, I didn't measure it, plus I haven't blocked it yet. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like wondering, do I even want to block it?
I kind of like this is the thing. So this is the thing. Some sweaters are perfect sort of when you try it on pre-blocking. And there's always this question of like, is blocking going to change how much I love it?
Will it improve it?
Yeah, the feeling of a block sweater is just like so much more lovely.
I know, and I really do. I feel like this especially because it's non-superwash too. I always feel like that one also like has a really blocking
can make it like fills up the fabric. Like
I think I will do it because it is a bit like you can kind of, it's a bit open in the sleeves, and I bet you when I block that it'll be just like gorgeous. I did do also Jackie's. Now I didn't know I remembered in the original pattern there's no short rows, which I'm imagining is because that's what's helping with this collar standing up.
I also think if you look at the sample, there's significantly more positive ease in the sample. And I think that when you have that much positive ease, short rows can make things sit funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a short row
pushes it.
Like there's just something about the way that it sits. And I feel like, with a more open neckline and a lot of positive ease, the absence of short rows doesn't make a big difference compared to something that is closer to the body or has a neckline that is sort of
to kind
comes
of
up the shoulders, like up the shoulders into the neck, like the slope.
Yes, because I do think like the look is also for it to, one of the things that short rows do is to bring this up so that you don't, in a sweater that you're not looking for this look, what can happen is that you end up getting kind of a straight line here and it folds over. Yeah. So I can imagine like that's also part of kind of getting that. I don't know if you can really see that, but I love that.
This neckline on you, Carmen, is just perfection.
I probably, usually when I wear it, I'm not wearing a t-shirt underneath it, so you can kind of see it a bit better. That was probably not the best. If I take pictures, I will make sure I do that better.
So beautiful.
It is
the color on you is so beautiful.
I actually, every time I put it on, I'm like, oh my God, like this, we've talked about color, right? And I'm like, I feel like I look healthier. Like my skin just looks healthier in this color than other ones. The way that it sets off your hair
also, to me, it's just like, it's just so classic.
Cute. Honestly, I don't even think he's played with that.
I know that I went to go find it and I was like, your rat friend is always existing, has always existed.
It's a possum, Jackie, a possum. Maybe if you get it, you can bring it over because it's the most disgusting toy. My daughter, she picked it out and I was like, that is so gross, but they love it. They really do. But they haven't played with it for a while. Okay, it's all right. So the other thing, so when Jackie had done hers and I wanted to kind of do it exactly the same, she put, because there were no short rows up here, you put the short rows in the ribbing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought when I was looking at it.
Yeah.
So then I was trying to count, and I don't know how many you did, but I ended up doing 4 on each side. So
that's
like
exactly
8.
what I did.
Oh, perfect.
I basically, it was based on gauge more than anything. I wanted to add about 1 inch to 1.25 inches, of length along the back. So that worked out to be 4 sets of short rows.
Right,
Yeah,
so
4
8.
sets of 8. Yeah.
8 rows.
To create that little high-low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have done it. I will block this one. I will block it because I would like to know for my next versions.
It's beautiful.
But
this is the perfect green.
It is the perfect. It
It's
is the perfect green.
Brit.
And you know what's funny?
You know where this is going?
It's already like she's watching it now, going, "Oh, I better check my emails, my DMs, because I bet you Jackie's in there going,
Enough Houseplants, please."
Oh, I wanted to say though, I should have brought them. The actual, like usual, right? The Not Enough Houseplants in the DK is darker, and then it's a little lighter, obviously, the mohair version. Both are so gorgeous, and then they made this like, it's like it's got almost a little bit of a Kelly green undertone, like by putting the two together.
That's what I love about it.
I really think it's so pretty.
I think that's one of the things that I love about adding mohair. If mohair is accessible to you, if not, then you know, the lighter weight Surrey alpaca, especially when you are able to pair, like when you're working with hand-dyed yarns or be able to sort of get the same color way on the 2 different bases and put them together. I think there's this like dynamic thing that happens where the color ends up having more depth, like more dimension, and there's something that's really visually pleasing about it for me. And sometimes you can get like a beautiful color match without having the same colorway.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, that's also fun.
Which is also fun.
Where it's like, oh, they created something and you're not sure, and then they create this thing.
It's kind of like applying a filter on the base color. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you could just sort of like tone it one way or the other. And really, and I at least can't do color math in that way. Like I can't look at the 2 of them and sort of see what it's gonna combine into, which again just adds to like more dopamine, as I did, because I'm like, oh, what does it look like?
It is exciting, but also I think my problem is once I start, it's really hard for me to stop.
Yeah.
Like which you'll see in some projects that I've made, because it's like, well, I don't want to pull back. Like so I would basically knit it regardless, even if it's not perfect, which I really shouldn't, but hopefully it would be. Anyway.
You know, another thing that I did by accident and then like now intentionally do when I'm doing something with like one color or something where it's like there's like a main yarn that I'm like fluffing with something else, is that I will cast it on at night, and then in the morning I feel like I get the like I'm like I wake up in the morning, it's like Christmas morning, and I'm like, oh, I want to see what's gonna look like in the daylight.
That's really cute. I love these little games, right? We play with ourselves.
Yeah, just to add a little joy to our lives.
I love it. Because we don't have enough.
I mean, we're very lucky. We have a lot of joy, but more joy.
More joy. Can't get enough. Unlimited supply. I was just going to ask you again as you did. Because this, so if you remember, Jackie had already started this last time. So this, look what's happened here.
I know, this is me trying to find them. I did bring the things so that you could see. Did I bring the things? No,
oh, the actual
things.
The tube?
So
you can go back to the other.
This is my version. This is version, 2. This is version 2 of Easy Like Sunday Morning. So I used the, again, I used the same dimensions as this original pattern, but what I changed was the collar. So instead of doing sort of a 2x2 rib folded down collar, I did a tubular cast on and a 1x1 rib. And I will, it's a free pattern, so I will put my stitch counts,
Nice.
like how many I cast on.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Did I say this is Sunday morning? DK held with Halo, also
These
both
are
from
Sonder.
Nutiden Yarn Co. In the colorway Free Spirit.
It's so gorgeous.
So if I
See
if I
there
can,
is a difference.
there is a difference.
Yeah.
But also this is steam blocked and that one
Sure.
is not. And
Yeah.
I love this so much that I couldn't bear to put it on an actual blocking mat. So I feel like it's so good already,
Yeah.
and I know that it could potentially get better.
I know.
And yet I haven't done it.
I get
So I did 1x1 rib.
it.
Here, same sort of modifications because I didn't do the folded down collar. I added short rows in the back.
Pretty.
So I added short rows in the ribbing, which is something that I learned from the Jill sweater by Aeygo Knits. She does a lot of short rows in ribbing, which I never thought as a possibility
Yeah, it was
until we did
interesting.
it. And there is something for me about the way that the collar sits on my shoulder, like neck
perfect.
shoulder frame. When the short rows are in the ribbing, there's something about the way that it sort of holds the collar up
Yes.
without needing to do a folded collar.
Yes. I love it.
That I like that line. So I put short rows into the upper ribbing, and then I also put short rows into the lower ribbing. And one of the things that I love about this modification of the pattern, for me anyways, is I really like the way that the longer rib looks at the back, but the sort of crop silhouette.
It looks great.
Perfect.
It looks great. The color's so perfect too. It's so
I love the
beautiful.
color.
And it's so like, look at, like, you're also, right? Like, it's like, wah, like glowing.
And I think, the name of Nutiden Yarn Co.'s mohair as Halo is such a perfect
really is.
name, because I do think all mohair in general creates a glow. Like I do feel like I've glowed up
You have.
the sweater.
100%.
So
Especially with that color. God, it's so beautiful, Jackie.
can we do a little swap?
Yes. And you always go
I
off
always go
camera.
off camera.
And I'm like, ah!
Your choice of clothing underneath is less dangerous than mine.
Fair. But actually, like, I am regretting in some ways the t-shirt, because I'm like, and it doesn't make the thing look as good.
Oh, I love the feeling of this.
I know, it's
Love
a
the feeling
this
of
too.
this.
But this is what's so shocking. They're so different. Like, oh, Jackie!
Brit, order in.
Oh my
Will you
god.
take my order as a purple, please?
Oh my god. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh god, this one too.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Jackie,
I
that looks
love
unbelievable. Oops.
So one of the reasons why you'll see that that we are both going to be knitting this pattern again and again, at least for me, was reflecting on wanting to take my knits into professional work setting.
Yes.
And for me, this is the pattern
Yep.
that does it. Like for me, this is the pattern that of course it's dependent on yarn choice and color and just your ideas and your context around what's work clothes or what's appropriate.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is that it has a sweatshirt feel without a sweatshirt look.
Yes.
And then it also has all the characteristics of my favorite kind of knitting, which is a large gauge. It's a raglan. It's not a complex pattern, so it's really it's fast and easy.
Yeah,
It's
you
that
can read while
car
you're doing
knitting,
it.
reading knitting,
Yeah.
and it just then to me becomes a place where you get to fully let your creativity play in yarn. It becomes all
Yes.
about yarn choice. It's a way of showcasing beautiful
Yes.
yarn. It's a way
Or
that you can
color.
play with yarn and color
Yeah.
on this silhouette that for me is just so wearable
I agree.
and wearable in different contexts.
And it's also a really, I'm finding for me too, because my like, I think entering that time of life where my like temperature can change, like can move. I have found this one to be this combination of like a mohair with like a single, well, and actually even double mohair, even in the turtle dove cardigan.
Yeah.
Those have just been so lovely. Like they're really, I haven't been overheating. I haven't been too cold. I've just been like nicely sitting here, you know, like just like, look how it's such a pretty sweater. And, you know, I mean, I sit in a chair and I talk to people, you know, like it looks nice. Like it's a very professional looking sweater. Yeah.
It's like an elevated basic to me. Like it's interesting because it like, I feel like it reads like an elevated basic from the outside, but it feels like your comfiest, coziest shirt.
Yeah. Like it's almost like this would be sold at Banana Republic or Club Monaco or something. You know, like there's like, which to me are very work clothes.
Yeah, it's like like leaning, what is it? Business casual?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Exactly. I think so. We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't have real jobs.
Oh
well, they're real
God.
jobs, but they're different. I think these are so pretty. See, that is a gorgeous collar.
Wearing yours backwards.
Am I?
Yeah. But it looks really good, actually.
I really like it, but okay, let's redo. Let's see if it looks even better.
But I was looking at it, I was thinking I really actually now want a version where
Done
the
backwards. Oh yeah.
Where the
because it was better for me a little bit.
Yeah, it was actually
up.
better higher up for you.
And it was also I liked how like wide it was looking.
Yeah. Turn it around. What does it matter?
Turn it around. Right? Well, now that fits a bit better there because I remember I was like, why is that so high on that side?
I also love the back silhouette of it. I'm not sure why. I just like, you know,
such a lovely sweater. And I'm also laughing at myself just suddenly about how for a while, not that long ago, I was like, I don't like a deep, you know, a deep raglan. I like mine to be right here. And like now I'm like, no, this look, this kind of like triangle look.
I'm trying to decide if I like this.
I think this is beautiful.
Neckline. Like I didn't like it as much in this one.
So pretty.
But for some reason, in this color and this,
it's so pretty.
I think it's actually tighter than that one.
I think so because Nutiden sometimes can get a little bit more
open.
But I have to say this though looks unbelievable on you.
Thank you.
Like it stands so nicely. I think I would have to actually I'd have to turn it around.
Yeah, you're, so this is one of the things that we discovered that is going to be a theme in the objects this episode is, this is wider.
Yeah.
Is neck length, because you all were so kind in the comments when I was like, it doesn't look good on me. Like, it doesn't look how it looks on like Melissa. It doesn't look how it looks on Carmen. And that's how I ended up gifting it to Carmen because it looked how I wanted it to look. How I envisioned it in my head in the way that we copy paste a sample that we see and we think, oh, it's just going to paste onto my body in the way that it looks. And it doesn't, and it can't. And that is the beautiful thing about knitting is, and knitting a second version and knitting a third version is, you know, how can I work with the skills that I have to create the garment that will fall on my unique body in the way that makes me celebrate sort of me, right? Can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, but just to like, I'm like, I didn't think I would go back to this folded collar because of this. Right. But it just turns out I need to bring it in a little bit.
Right. And even if you maybe even made it, a little bit of a like a small, even one needle size smaller. Yeah. You might even find, because I think you're just
I prefer here. I think, but neck length. Is that like, you know, I feel like the more I knit, the more dimensions I'm keeping track of. Like, I feel like, you know, for a sweater, it's like, you're just going by bust size. Not thinking about ease and so on and so forth. Right. And now, you know, we've added like, what's your crown height? What's your raglan depth? Like all these things. And now I'm like, do I need to have a neck circumference? I need to measure the neck circumference that I like.
Which would make sense because obviously like our necks relate to our shoulders and how this all
Yeah, and our necks are proportionate to our heights also.
Hopefully. Otherwise,
Yeah, so, okay.
All right.
Are you tired of the easy like Sunday morning sweater?
Well, I'm not. And if you are, you can just skip to the next chapter. Although it might be a couple chapters, I don't know.
I have one more.
We've shown, right, because we've shown 3. Here's another one.
Sort of one more, actually.
Oh, gosh. Oh. Oh, this is pretty. Beautiful.
So this is another version, another iteration of this.
Collar?
It is knit also in Nutiden Yarn Co. Sunday Morning DK in the colorway Sweet Tea, and then held with a strand of their Halo, but like this is deep stash. The Halo is in the colorway Opera, and I bought it, like the label on it says Espastrico. Deep, long time ago.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Oh, I didn't talk about amounts. I'll put in the description box below the yarn quantities that were used. Yep. But after I cast this one off and I wore it basically through the entire festive season because I was like, festive sweater. Last episode, I talked about my propensity to be deeply influenced by the seasons. And it's like, I woke up one day and I was like, that's too bright. like, so
it's mine till next December.
Festive season is done. And like, I was just like craving a neutral. And so this is where I ended up.
This couldn't be more you. Also,
you think so?
Well, yes. I'm like, unless it was in a light
Unless it was a light blue gray.
But yeah, this is
spoiler. What do you think I'm gonna do the next time? So
it's so
is
pretty.
The fit is different.
It is. I was just thinking. So it's higher. Did you? Okay.
Yeah. So I did a couple of things. This is no longer the easy like Sunday morning sweater.
It's hard like Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. So there's a different shoulder construction.
Yes. Oh, is this the one from the Colette?
Sort of. Yeah. So what I wanted to try after doing the Free Spirit one was that I wanted to have a higher collar, and I wanted to see what it was like to have a little bit less positive ease. So
and a bit more. It's very square.
I wanted like that structure.
Look. Yeah.
Because I love that version, but again, this is like, you know, what I'm envisioning in my mind around something that is again a little bit like work appropriate, like just something to dress it up a little bit. I was like, I love a higher collar, and I love this sort of like structure.
Yes.
So I did 1x1 ribbing. You'll see, again, I put short rows in the back. I think I put a few too many short rows in the back because they're, you know, it's taller than my neck actually is. And then one of my favorite sweaters that we talked about last episode when we were going over like most worn, like our top sweaters, our top knit things, was the Sjal sweater, which has this contiguous shoulder construction.
Oh yeah.
And so I mashed up the two things together and did the raglan increases from Easy Like Sunday Morning and sort of made up the contiguous shoulder construction.
Good for you.
And
God.
part of the reason why I did the mashup, even though this is like a perfect pattern by itself, is because there was a sweater that I made last year called the Colette Tee, where my favorite thing about it, other than the beautiful low mileage wool that it was made out of and the perfect gray that it was made out of, was this line.
Yes.
So I'm really pleased.
You should be. I love
about
it.
how it came out.
It's
that
so
line.
pretty.
A little bit less positive ease on that. The Free Spirit version is 44 inches and this one's 41, and my bust size, like finished bust size, is 41, and my bust size is 37, 38, depending on the shirt and the day. Yeah. So yeah, this has quickly become one of my favorites.
It's so pretty.
I love the color of it. This was an interesting exploration for me in terms of the idea of like, I don't like the word flattering, but I can't think of another, like,
What's wrong with that word?
I don't know.
Word.
Yeah. In thinking about, you know, what I think are kind of two ends of the spectrum as it relates to choosing colors for when to wear.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So at one end of the spectrum, I think about colors that I like to look at. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I think of colors that other people would like to look at on me.
Right. Right. And then you add even another piece of like, would like to look at in some kind of context of what they're dealing with at that moment.
Yeah.
On top of it.
So
Yes.
this was the choice around this color was very much about what color do I want to look at.
Yeah.
And then also feeling like I wanted to dive into a color that like I assigned meaning to. So I think of this as rose gold.
Yes. I see that.
And I just had this, often when I teach meditations, guide meditations, or I'm meditating myself, colors will come into my experience. And so this was the color that sort of kept coming into my experience for a period of time. And I was like, hey, well, there's something about this that my being, my spirit is really wanting and needing. Therefore, I have to knit a sweater in it, right? So
As one does.
So I went into my stash. I knew that I had this halo, and I was like, it's time for this to happen. And then was able to go on the Nutiden Yarn Co. Website and look at, you know, what would pair. And I think that it came out really beautiful.
Awesome.
That said, you know, according to color theory, color theory says that I am cool. And so this is, I wouldn't say a particularly cool
No. Like I feel like
colorway.
I
It's
want to
quite
try it on,
warm.
and I feel like it will not look good on me.
But this led me down a rabbit hole around sort of color theory, which actually started because of one of you all who were like, Jackie, I really don't think that you're a winter. Like, you don't look like a winter to me. And so to give context in terms of how I landed as a winter, it was like, I don't know, 15 plus years ago. And it was my like hairstylist, my hair colorist, who I had been with forever and ever, who decided to go into sort of color stuff, and had actually a history of art, like did design and architecture before they moved into styling or hair. Moved into hair.
Yeah.
And then was sort of combining their two passions to go into color consulting. And so I was one of their like practice things in their in there. And at that time I had different colored hair.
Like darker?
Redder. Yeah, like the tone of my hair was
Like natural?
like red.
Or-
No.
Oh,
Like
right.
I was dyed,
dyed
and it was
there.
dyed like more brunette red, like really actually like that color.
Yeah.
Like here. And so that's when I got told that I was a winter. And then one of you was like, I don't really think that you're a winter. And I was like, you know what? Lighting obviously matters. There's a reason why a lot of these color consulting things
Are in person.
are suggested to be in person if you have access to that.
Yeah.
But I ended up going down this rabbit hole because, you know, when it came up, I thought, God, am I a winter? Like, I don't really know. And then I started to like self-diagnose my color theory online. And where that landed me was looking at all of these websites, knowing that, like, you know, if you have access to somebody who can actually do drapes and that kind of stuff, that's ideal. But on all of these websites, where I realized that a lot of the like quizzes or the like choice points around like what's your season often talks about, yes, like, are you warm toned or are you cool toned? But then they also go into hair color and eye color. And as somebody who's BIPOC, like, I don't, for the other seasons, it's like, do you have blue eyes? Do you have green eyes? Do you have, and I'm like, well,
Right.
it's just like not possible for me to go anywhere but winter with anything that is looking predominantly or largely at eye color and hair color. So then I don't know where, like internet rabbit hole, and then I actually met somebody who was like, you need to go and get Japanese color analysis done. Because This is the application of the seasonal color theory adapted in a place where there's a different sort of set of criteria and a different set of drapes to reflect the natural colors of somebody who is of Asian origin.
Yes.
And the person that I met on retreat is a stylist in New York, and she was like, you know, this whole like people who are Asian, of Asian descent must be winter because you have high contrast between your eye color, like your skin and your hair and all that kind of stuff. She's like, there are actually more people of Asian descent who are warm toned than cool toned. And I was like, what? So this was a little bit of like a little tester thing for me to kind of look at, you know, what do I look like with a warm toned color?
Yeah. I like it.
And I kind of like it.
I think it looks beautiful.
You know, the colors that I want to look at, generally speaking, read cool. Mm-hmm. That's more my preference. But if you look at this side of the spectrum of like what colors do other people want to look at me in,
right?
It's quite an interesting phenomenon, because I walked into a setting with this and someone's like, God, Jackie, that's so your color. And I thought,
that's when you know, when somebody like, randomly just tells you, right?
And this is not somebody who's like, you know, in the context of like knitting or it was just like a random person.
Yes.
And the way that it was interesting to observe how I received that, because part of me received that as like, oh, well, maybe my like energy and my demeanor and my personality is this
if you're
color?
Happy. Oh, I see.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if you feel good in it though too, there's that like piece of like exuding that.
Right?
Yeah. But I do think that looks really good on you.
Thank you.
What's funny though is that I also thought this looked really good on you. And this is very cool. And that's quite warm.
Yeah.
So how does that even
So how does that even work? And one of the things that I was reading about when I was looking at sort of Japanese color analysis is the color card that you would get for the summer, which is the other side of like, if you're cool toned, then you're either summer or winter, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. You know, that's sort of like the split in terms of like your skin color, the undertone of your coloring. And what was interesting is that sort of the drapes or the palette that you get as a summer in Japanese color analysis is different than the like little card or palette that you get.
Check it out.
So, you know, this is like one of my bucket list items is to go and get a
close by, or
I haven't been able to find one. But I haven't looked super, super hard. Yeah. And then I also thought to myself, like, does it also matter like what time of the year it is? Like, I've been in the South a fair amount, and so I know that on the scale of, you know, you're more pigmented, less pigmented, like there's more pigment in my skin right now.
Definitely. And like I was noticing there are different, usually we don't have as much of a difference, but I'm like, whoa, I look very pale.
I've been south.
I've been in gray for months.
But yeah, I mean, whatever it is, right? Like, I know that I've gotten really technical here, but I just think that it's worthwhile thinking about.
Yeah.
Like when you're making choices around color. And I tend to lean on this side of the spectrum, which is like, I knit for me. Yeah. I knit to be enveloped in something that serves me, as opposed to being enveloped by something that serves somebody else.
Or your impression of
what I think.
Wants,
so, you know, what our friend Hella had one of her viewers had written in her comments, one of like my favorite responses to the whole idea of color theory, which is I claim all the colors. Like, let's claim all the colors.
Well, exactly. Like we talked about before, like that moment when I realized like I could wear anything I want. Yeah. Like even if I know it might not be my color, like if I want to wear it, I can wear it.
I think actually I have a little bit of like internal resistance to going and getting the analysis done,
you'll be
because it's not so much that I'll be contained, but I almost am like, am I going to be robbed of self-love, self-acceptance, and confidence?
Because you will know what's not.
Mm-hmm. Like there may be things that I internally love that I'm now going to have this association of saying like, you know, it's not ideal for you, right? Or it doesn't flatter you, right? And I don't intrinsically have a problem with the word flatter. I think it, but to me, it leans the decision around color and clothing and yarn choice and all that kind of stuff in the direction that's less about your insides, right? And
it would be like deciding not the insides, instead choosing for your
choosing the outsides.
Yeah, outside, your outside and the outside.
And the outside world. And I'm like, do we need more of that? Like, do I need more of that as the human being that I am?
And only if it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's always the answer in my mind is things work until they don't work, right? So like take it as far as it's useful and fun, and then leave what you don't want. And
I think there's also the opposite side of the spectrum for folks, or even when I had my colors done that sort of time, it gave me confidence, right? It gave me excitement. In this moment, my insides are being like, I don't know, why don't you sort of figure out your colors through experience? Yeah. Like I'm willing to play inside of myself, and I feel like this has been a year of me like playing.
Right. So actually like putting things on, trying them out, and saying like, now how do I feel? Do I feel like this looks
how do I feel about myself in the color? How do I feel about myself in the outfit? And to flattering might be a part of that, but it's more like, how does this make me feel globally without me getting into the weeds of like, does this make me look sickly? Like, does this make me, whatever the case is. Yeah. But I do love this. I feel very at home in it.
It looks, well, this is what I mean. It has that feel of you. Yeah. Like, it's like, this is just, yes, Jackie is wearing this. That it makes, I mean, as much as this feels like me, like I have so many things in that kind of color. Yeah. It's just our, I don't know. Yeah.
And I'm really proud of this shoulder.
Yeah, you should be. I want to try that one on.
Of the shoulder and the line.
Unless you don't want to take it off. Oh. Well, you have to put it back on for the other thing. But I feel like I'm always in this realm too of like flattering. Of course we don't want to be so focused on physical and all of these things, and we are so much more than our. Oh, right. I was gonna. What are you gonna put on? Anyway, all these pieces that. But not losing the fact that we also like certain things, like we like, it's okay to like things, it's okay to to do your hair. It's okay to put makeup on, and why do we put these things on? Well, just because it's fun and we like the way it looks, and it's okay. That's also okay. Oh, you know what? I kind of like this one.
That was a really lovely sound that you just made.
I'm classic with my sounds. So oh, Jackie.
Oh my God, Carmen.
Right?
So less positive ease, still a deep raglan.
I'm just raglan depth is the same. How much opera do you have left? Does she still make opera?
It's on, I don't think it's in stock, but I did ask Melissa, I was like, are these things coming back? So if you go on, what she expressed is if you go on to the Nutiden Yarn Co. Website and you look at Halo, there's oh my God, so much beautiful Halo in stock in all the colors that I'm just like, well, I am going to be knitting one raglan-esque-ish work appropriate sweater a month. Get ready, guys. This is
I know. I know.
Remember when the half and half triangles wrap hit the YouTubes? Yes. And it was like every podcaster was like, I have one finished object and it is 6 skeins of fingering weight. Are you ready to see my half and half triangles wrap 1 inch at a time?
That's so true.
Are you ready to see our Easy Like Sunday Morning inspired raglan contiguous? But the difference at least
is that when you're right, it takes 3 podcasts for it to be finished, whereas we can have
bang them out.
I am making this exact thing. I love the way that stands up around my neck.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have to do the same short row. I love the shoulder. Oh, maybe I will.
Yeah, I think there's some tweaks to be made in the number of short rows. I think I did too many pairs. But I have long hair, no one can see the back. True. Just do one of these. And I like how it sits. I like that color on you.
I like this color too. So there we go.
Your cheeks just got rosy.
I know, they did
I
get
just
rosy.
Look at you, you're they look like a fresh peach.
Do you know what it reminds me of that there was like a KAL or something a couple years ago, was it? Like Naked Knits or something? I think there is
that a
even
KAL?
a place.
What's the hashtag that I'm looking at? Oh, it might be a dangerous hashtag.
That might be a different hashtag, but it was, I think there's actually a like company or like design thing called Naked Knits, I think. But I don't think it was through them. And the idea was that you would wear skin-toned knits.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, like this kind of is like a skin tone knit. I love it.
I mean, my neutral loving heart is just like,
I am loving this.
I'm also really happy to see that the shoulder looks nice.
It looks beautiful.
I'm not a pattern designer, so I'm sorry, but there's not going to be a pattern. However,
Why?
Because I don't know how to grade.
Oh.
And my brain can't grade.
Well, what if it was like a recipe?
Possible.
And you're gonna have to give it, because I need to knit exactly this.
It's like, I need it. I'll write out
so
some
close
sort
to
of
just
clunky
begging
recipe.
you for this.
I know, I can see the hard eyes. I can see the hard eyes, just like, I don't know if you can see the hard eyes about this. Yes, you can. Anyhow,
What if she doesn't have it?
I do. I did make notes. They're just probably only intelligible to me. So maybe I will give you the notes and then you can try and make sense of them, and then we can collectively work towards.
And I'll
keep this one. It's so beautiful on you. You look like a peach.
I feel like a peach. I really like this. I like it.
Oh,
I know, I'm almost like
we're like, can you guys hear the internal negotiation that we're both in right now?
Really like,
we're not.
You really want this one? Like, can we? I'm like, I could make that one again, maybe.
You know what? We should.
We should
We should have like we're gonna have 12.
I know. We
might as well like swapsies. Maybe every single time, you know, like take one, leave one.
I want to wear this.
Every time I come.
Can I wear this to work?
Yes. Every time we come and do a podcast episode, we're gonna take one and leave one.
I like it.
Hey?
I like it. Because I have noticed for now quite a number of podcasts, we are like taking each other's sweaters because, and you know what? I was thinking
double the
about
closet.
that. It's double the closet. And you know, we've talked about blah, 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 the processed product knitting. Who cares? But I have thought, okay, we've been talking, you might show your Instant Crush, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I haven't finished it. I've got just like this much to go. And it's not that I don't love it. I love this sweater.
Did you rip back?
No, I still have to do that, okay, which is part of it. But also, it's like once I've knit something,
you're done with it.
so there is a process piece for me.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I can also knit something that I hate just to get the product, but like, I don't know. I really, sometimes once it's done, it's just done.
Yeah, you're following the momentum of your desire and the momentum of your knitting.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I feel like test knitting and monogamous knitting has a very specific momentum that I could never follow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not never, but like it's not my natural momentum.
It's good to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And it has its own like things.
Yeah, I'm really happy every single time I've done it. I just applied for one. So, you know, but.
This looks gorgeous on you too. Like this, like talk about hair with the like.
And this,
I know,
measure
it really
this.
looks beautiful. See, this is the problem. Like we can try to do
What's
it
the
again.
problem?
This is why I need to steal yours and you need to steal mine. Here we go. Because even when we try to recreate it, like it's like there's certain things, right? Like you're knitting at a specific time in your life. You've got certain things going on. Like the stitches are different, right? And you could like change just the tiniest thing accidentally, and then it's like not perfection.
Gosh, it's so beautiful. I will give this to you on Monday.
Okay.
You get it this weekend for something very specific. I'll give it to you on Monday.
Oh my god! Yay! Okay. Okay.
All right,
girls.
Do you want it? Should I do another raglan sweater or should I do something different?
What? People were waiting. What do you want? No. It's up to me. I'm going with different. No, you're about to do this. So raglan sweater. This is also very beautiful.
Oh, dang it. Do my ends.
It's always like where I'm like guessing. I'm guessing.
No, this is backwards. Don't know anymore. Okay, so here's where I feel like, you know, this there's so many fluffs. Where there are certain colors that just don't look as good on camera, and this is one of them.
I know this it is really deep Oreo brown.
So this is, so before I tell you what colors are in this.
This is making me wonder if did you do what I was asking about? Maybe not, because you were like, I've been thinking about that too.
Mm-hmm.
It is that?
Okay, yeah. So this is, oh my gosh. Okay, so I just need to apologize for, I'm gonna spell, God, am I even gonna try? Hell. S-J-A-L or S-K-A-L. That is the name of the colorway of this Nutiden. So this is Nutiden Hell double-stranded. The pattern is the White Mountains by Midori HiroseFolded. And what this is also a perfect raglan sweater, in my opinion.
I'm supposed to make this one. You guys keep telling me, and now I'm going to.
So this is a folded, it starts in the pattern. There are all these different neckline options. Yes. I chose to do the folded collar. It's a top-down raglan, but it's not your typical top-down raglan. So I've knit a gajillion top-down raglan things, and this is very cleverly done in how the raglan increases happen and also how the sleeve shaping happens. There are these little tweaks, brilliant, by Midori HiroseFolded, that for me and my body proportions, I feel like this is the perfect raglan line.
It is really beautiful.
And so this is where, again, I think if we take our time to reflect on our knitting, we can find what we love. And so the reason I did this contiguous shoulder here was because I knew the number of stitches that I cast on for the sleeve in this raglan, and I thought, it's close, it's not quite, but I can do it.
That is almost, they're almost right meeting, hey?
Yeah. So we've talked, I've talked previously about raglan sweaters that I don't think I don't like the look of on me when the raglan's really kind of more centered. Yeah. When there's
more shoulder.
More sleeve stitches relative to body stitches. And so this is one of those patterns where the ratio again is brilliant. Yes. I knit the size M1 because I was off gauge. This came out to 17 stitches per inch.
Nice. And what was there? Oh, there's
my mouth. 15? I think it's 15. I can't really remember. But again, in terms of sizing, finished bust size on this is 41, so a lot less positive ease. And I just think it like skims the body so beautifully.
It's gorgeous.
I love this color. Mm-hmm. This is also another sort of like symbolic knit for me. The meaning of the Swedish words that I just butchered, and I apologize, is soul and crossroads. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I actually cast this on, in like August, at a time where I was feeling quite tender and was at a crossroads in life. And I, like, this was total therapy knitting. It was like, I need to be like held. I need to feel, there's something about a Nutiden for me that is very cocoon-like. Yes. We've said this phrase many times, that comes from a designer whose name is escaping me in this moment. I'll come back around to it, who published an anthology of shawls called Gentle Armor. And for me, this was like gentle armor. And gentle armor, not that I needed to be protected from the outside world, but just that I wanted to have a sort of cocoon around me. And the idea was sort of like, I'm in that like chrysalis. I felt like I was in this chrysalis phase where I was like in the process of transformation. It was like goo section where it was like, okay, I thought I was going to be a butterfly, but not yet. So like back to goo I go. And so this, it just gives me so much comfort. But in terms of the momentum, like I just needed to do the sleeves and a little bit of ribbing for like months and months and months and months. And I don't know what it is about, like, I wanted to wear it. I do think that from a color perspective, I knit it in August, but I wasn't craving like deep,
that would not
deep
be
color
for you, yes.
in autumn. And then there was like a moment last month where I was like, I need it. I need to have this. I need to like be in wintering mode, and I love it. The inspiration for the colorway Carolyn shared came from the sea and the ocean. What do you think my astrology makeup is, or my sign is? Like, does anybody guess water? And so what I love about it, I don't know if you can see it, but I know it from the story, and I also see it, is that there's blue in here. Like it's the Oreo brown black of sheep, but there's also like dyed really dark blue.
Gorgeous.
And so again, you know, these like layers of symbolism inside of the story of the knit. Her inspiration was the sea, and one of her color inspirations was like a mussel, and the colors of a mussel. And there's a colorway called musla, which is more sort of like blue, but there are parts of the outer covering of like the shell that I think that is perfect. And I don't know if it's going to come across in your screen, but I'm trying to sort of like express it to you so that
you can definitely feel it. It's like you can't see it, but you feel it. You feel the blue. Yes.
So again, it's like, am I warm? Am I cool? Because I feel like this is I feel really, I feel very much like I look like myself in this color. Yeah. Also, you do. You know, it's such a beautifully toned
more
black.
Complicated.
Yeah, maybe the whole like warm, cool thing is
not just
a little part of the like larger puzzle.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine that we might have dimension to us and buck rules and things. Yeah. Right? So strange.
So yeah, I mean, I would recommend this pattern highly. If you
I say, I feel like I literally bought a kit. This was like months ago. I bought a kit from Sonder for White Mountain, which I thought I was buying White Mountains Light. Turns out, no, I bought White Mountains. And
yeah, there's two versions of the pattern. One is for fingering, and one is for like a fingering gauge, and one's for DK plus
mohair. So like a worsted.
Yeah.
And I love that pattern. And every time I go to cast it on, I'm like, I've been driving Jackie and Melissa crazy probably, because I'm like, or what about this one? And they're like, always, yeah, that's nice. And they're like, but honestly, like the White Mountains is the perfect. And then Melissa showed me her picture of it. I'm like, oh my mom, I need it. Okay, nothing else. And now I'm seeing Jackie's, and I'm like,
yeah.
So we shall see.
It's a great sweater.
It's beautiful.
The different neckline options is great.
I was gonna do the little tubey one.
The tall one.
Yeah.
I want to do this version. Anyway, I have lots of plans. I won't bore you with them because you'll see them next month. But
she'll have it done in a week.
Because big gauge, friends. What was I gonna say? What I will say about this is that the first time when I cast it on, I was like, oh, this is gonna be my car knitting. And what I will say is that it's not as good car knitting as this one, or I should probably say this one, where the raglan increases are like very easy to track, and it's like knit front and back. This one, there are more stitch markers, and you do actually have to note how far you are in the pattern, like how many increases that you've done, because it changes. Like
changes
it's compound,
kind of
it changes,
number.
and the same thing in terms of the sleeves. But I think that it's so worth it.
It's so worth it.
It's so worth it. I also yarn choice matters, and this one's very structured. I again have not blocked it because I can't bear to take it off my body. So this has been steam blocked.
Is it a tighter gauge? Like then. Well, you said it was. Yeah. Yes, you did.
Yeah, 17.
You said 17. And I think for you, like, this is much more structured than I ever see you have in Nutiden.
In Nutiden, because it's held double-stranded. I think this colorway has...
other easy, like, so, yeah, that one.
This colorway was, like, one of the very, like, plumpy, like, airy ones. Oh, yeah. And then it just so happens that I have been watching along for the next shop update, the next Nutiden Hunter Air Nutiden shop update, and I don't know how this happens, but you'll see that some of the Nutiden that I'm working with is not available, but like its sister or its like cousin is like coming, and this one there was a very similar color that was a very similar color that came out at Yule called Total Darkness that I feel like is really similar to this. And then I laughed at myself because I bought it and I was like,
Can never have enough.
can never have enough.
Plus, it looks great on you.
Yeah, you want to try it on?
Yes. Just put this one on my side. Kidding. I can't steal it again. Yes, I could. If she lets me, I will.
Yeah.
Okay. This time, put it on the right side, Carmen. Arg. Oh, it smells so sheepy. I love Nutiden. Woo-hoo. That is so much more cropped on me. Oh, I love it. I'm gonna have to make this one.
So lovely.
It's so nice.
You know, it being a black knit, I feel like it doesn't show the really beautiful raglan details that are in the pattern.
Yeah.
But just trust in terms of fit. And you know, again, like finding the perfect staple sweater for me is, how do you like it to fit? How much ease do you like? And then also starting to get a sense of not all raglans are created equal.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've been really been chewing on as I've been knitting all these different things are, what's the ratio of sleeve to body?
Oh, in which way?
Stitch counts.
Stitch counts.
What's the stitch, like, you know,
how tight?
Where does the sleeve start?
Oh.
Like, where do your lines start?
Yes.
Right? Where do your seams increases?
Mm-hmm.
And getting a sense of that, and
sleeves to body that way.
sleeve to
Got
body
it.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
That's really helped me actually be more intentional about patterns that I'm purchasing.
Yes.
Right.
I
And
know,
this translation between how it looks on the person who's wearing the sample, or how it looks on the various test knitters, and how it's going to translate onto my body. And, you know, there are ways that we can modify. And that's one of the things that we're really excited to do this year for our year-long KAL, which we'll get to. Probably we'll do it at the end.
No, we'll talk about it before.
Yeah. So, but like looking at, you can choose patterns that in your experience through things that you've knit or things that are coming off the rack, right? Make you feel good in the way that the garment combines with you.
Yes.
Right. And your ideas about what is your beautiful. And you can also make modifications to patterns in order to modify or augment the fit in a particular way as you get more comfortable with sweater knitting. And that's where I think it's
I'm finding that
one of my intentions for this year is to just notice how I am working inside of the same designer, right? Because every designer has a little bit of a point of view, and the invitation that I'm giving myself to sort of knit a bunch of my tried and true, and then every so often like see if I can deviate to someone whose patterns I haven't worked with before, but that I can see the construction is going to, I believe, fit with my desired aesthetic.
That'll help
in that moment, right?
It's that familiarity that allows then, like, it's creation in any way, right? Like that we can have just like a flood of creation, of energy, and sometimes great things can come. Yeah. But sometimes more times I think having a little bit of structure around the creation is good. Not too much, but like a little bit. And I think that having a designer like that, and you recognize, and you know them too, like you're anticipating things so that you can change things, probably that, like, I can see how that would amplify the ability to like create something that you're really looking for. And I'm also thinking about our like the material too, right? So, you know, we've worked with Nutiden so much that while it changes a lot, like, because it's always a different blend, you start to know what to expect with it,
or how to work with it for a desired effect, like more structured, more drapey.
Exactly. And you can kind of only get that through experience, right? So to just take it right off, if you're always changing everything all at once, that's fine. I mean, that's what I did for a very long time, really. Still, I'm only recently, but there is something about, like, you know, if you haven't noticed, we're a little obsessed with Sonder yarn.
Yeah.
Like a little bit crazy obsessed.
Yeah.
But one thing I think about that along what you're saying is that it's giving me a base, right? Like I'm starting to understand it and know it. So then I'm looking at patterns and I'm like, ooh, I could see that one working this way, you know, because I know the wool, as opposed to like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy this person's stuff, which is also something I love doing. But
we'll keep doing.
You know, having, you know, so it's almost like we have our Nutiden, like we've always had that base to move off of, and we're probably, I feel like Sonder's getting in that same level, like.
Well, if you were to look at my stash or what's on my needles, like it's
going to be just the Sonder show for the foreseeable future.
And part of it, I think, you know, is that I could wear this to work. For some reason, it doesn't feel work like to me, because again,
I would wear this
it's about how it feels.
Yeah.
Right. And I was.
It's more rustic than these ones.
Yes, I was. You know, it's like I have basically the same sweater in different colors and out of different fabrics. And so I was just noticing sort of like when I would gravitate towards certain ones on the basis of the feel, you know, like if we set color aside for a second, I'm like, this is like putting on a phenomenal like linen.
Yeah. And
this is, for me, I feel like I'm slipping into silk.
Yeah, or cashmere or something.
Like there's something so
luxurious
about it.
100%.
And so like, whether it actually looks dressier or not, I feel dressier in it.
This also, like, the sheep smell, like it has that like farm, like I could easily just go, or maybe I'd want to go riding.
Yeah, like it evokes a feeling, and so it's like, what's the feeling that I am wanting? And in our exploration of you being more in the office and like in physical proximity with people, and my desire to release store-bought things out of my work attire, like I'm leaning into luxe.
I get it.
And then I'm like,
but this is,
you know,
well, when I knit it, because now okay, listen, hold me accountable. If I almost changed it again, even as of last night, I almost split the things up, and now I'm not going to, okay? I am committing. I'm going to do my White Mountains kit from Sonder, and do you know it is DK, not mohair, with the haze. So it's with Surrey alpaca. It's gonna be like, so I feel like it's gonna be that, but having that luxe like feel.
I hope this is interesting for you all. Like, I'm really aware that we have gotten really technical, but I also am really aware that, you know, this format favors colors and it favors aesthetic, and we are in our own way trying to transmit our like felt worn experience like to you, and seeing it move, that you can sort of understand fabric and maybe like think for yourself, like in this moment, in this season, like is what you need to be like cocooned in something, is there like wanting to slide into something like luxurious, and in so doing, you know, we have so many options in this craft, which is, I think, what makes it continually interesting, and what allows us to knit really similar sweaters with like, you know, a little tweak here, a little tweak there, but like, you know, for a non-knitter, they're like, why you got 6 of the same sweater? Even for a knitter, it's gonna be like,
but you know, no, but people do this, right? Like, so when you find a great like sweater from a store, right? You buy a bunch of them, like for your work. Well, that's what I used to do.
Me too.
You buy like
people
the same sweater.
Laughed at me though.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then you had the wrong people around you.
I'm gonna bang on my husband again. My partner was like, he's like, you have 2 of everything, and I'm like,
only 2? Like
sometimes I like, there was a specific cardigan from a specific store that I literally have as a rainbow, and it was like sort of a staple thing, and the fit was so perfect, and I was like, oh, spring color, summer color, fall
it was
color,
what you could just throw on. And I still have one that I wear because it's just so perfect. Like, and I'm hoping to replace it, but I will say with the machine knitting, right? Yeah. It's so fine. Yeah. That's the piece that it can be, but I feel like we're starting to get there, even though it's not fine. Like the stitches are large. It still has the same
the
kind
feeling of it,
yeah.
the lightness. So, I totally forgot. So, this will be in the description box below, but for our size, in the Sonder Yarn Co. Sunday Morning DK, it's less than 3 skeins. It is actually 222 grams of the DK and less than 75 grams of the mohair.
Yes.
Right. So, it's good on yarn too. It's possible to make
a lot of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this
really do love
one,
this.
I didn't weigh.
This has got to be pretty.
But I'll put it in the description
It's
box.
under 300.
I would say it's probably, my guess would be around like 300 and 325.
Yeah, it's like
325.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. That is all the raglan sweaters.
I think that's all the raglan sweaters. I think that's, yeah. Well, that one we'll just put at the end. Okay. People have seen mostly that. There's not much to add it. I did finish something, but anyway. I think we should do this.
Yeah, okay.
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 So
I'm gonna rearrange my chair.
Okay. I'm going to start this, and then Jackie's going to quickly come in because she's going to be able to say this in way better ways than me. I feel like I want to take us back.
Yeah, take us back.
Because this is what I do.
Let's do the story.
The story, the Carmen lead up, where you don't even get to see it for 10 minutes from now. So we are at Rhinebeck. Now we had the, honestly, like, it feels unbelievable that we got to spend, because of a change in schedule on their part, we got to have Melissa Clulow and Lisa DeFruscia.
Oh, we're sorry, Lisa. Well, sorry.
But they came over to our place. We got to hang out with them.
So if you're not familiar with these two lovely human beings, they're the previous owners of Espastry Co. Lisa has moved into writing and photography in a she's total aspirational way.
Artist.
And then Melissa Clulow has moved from Espastry Co. into Sonder Yarn Co.
Mm-hmm. And so, because she's moved into the yarn production, because she's such a creative genius, she doesn't stop with like perfection she's already created. Like, if she stopped and just made what she's
Sunday morning
and all of that forever, and the halo and the haze, like, we'd all be so happy. But no, she doesn't. She keeps moving. Mm-hmm. And so she had a base that was very unique and interesting that she had just received, I think, and she was knitting with it at our place. Can't believe it. They were at our place. Fangirling over here. So anyway, she was like talking about it, and she's like, do you guys want to try it? And we each got to try this.
I think we like each knit like a round of her pattern, which was in stockinette. It just like went around went around our little knit circle, and everyone was like,
we were honestly like,
I was dying.
And now maybe we'll talk about what the blend is first before we say the rest of the stuff, because this is really important to me. So this is what it looks like. It's called, she's going to call it Montreal. And the construction of it is actually, it's a cotton.
It's a blown yarn.
A blown yarn with cotton middle with the rest blown over around it, merino.
The core is made of cotton.
The core is made of cotton, and then
alpaca and
alpaca
merino are blown into it.
And she's looking up the numbers because we were like, they're kind of wild. Like, it's like 47% alpaca, 35 cotton.
35% cotton,
and then
18% merino.
Anyway, when she first talked about it, now I don't like cotton. Like, so when I hear cotton, I'm like, ugh, because when I've knit with cotton, I don't know if you've knit with cotton, or linen can be like this, but not even as bad. Cotton has this like squeaky, hard, like you knit and you can't pull it at all. It doesn't give. It's very, very,
stiff. It lacks elasticity.
It has no elasticity. So I was like, oh, cool. Okay, cotton. Okay. Like, yeah, sure. No, let me try it. Then I like knit with it. I'm like, it was as if there was no cotton in it. It has all this bounce. It's so soft because of the alpaca and the merino, but I think the alpaca, and it gives this like crazy haze. And I literally remember knitting this and going, no kidding, Melissa, like, this is amazing. Bring this in, right? Did you want anything more to add in that first bit of trying it?
I think for me, my very first, well, not very first, but like in the early days, what I used to knit with or love to knit with was Drops Air, which was a blown yarn. And it has a beautiful hand feel. It knits really nicely. And every sweater that I have knit out of Drops Air has not stood the test of time. And so in my mind, in as much as if you let me loose in a yarn store, I will pick up something gray and something blown if I were just to go by touch. But because of my experiences of Drops Air, and I don't mean to diminish Drops Air, I also want to say that I was probably, because I'm such a loose knitter, I was probably like knitting this like blown yarn at a large gauge, leading to it not standing the test of time. And it was like, it got very gappy and pilled and that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm like, even though I love blown yarn, I'm not going to work with blown yarn because it makes me sad because my favorite sweater is only my favorite sweater for a short period of time, right? So that said, there was something about when I felt Melissa was knitting this thing that was like stockinette when she sort of taught, it's blown yarn. Do you want to try working with it? Do you want to like touch it? And I remember when I touched it, I was like, it has that blown yarn softness, but it also, like, I remember looking at it and feeling it. And with my like, knit tuition, I was like, this is going to last. There's something about this. And I don't know, I don't actually recall, maybe I was like, not paying attention or I was talking to somebody, but like when I encountered it, cotton was not part of like my understanding of this base.
That it was
all,
in there.
Yeah, that was in there. All I remembered
that was
I was
all
like,
I heard.
This is like Melissa's doing a blown yarn, but when I felt it, it was like bouncy and soft and had this like structure to it that I was like, oh my God, I can go back to blown. And what I noticed about it when I was like holding it and handling it, I don't know if you all are going to be able to see this, but what makes it different for me is a couple of things. One is that you can't see the core, because with some blown yarn, you can, in certain colors, like in dark colors, you can see the core of it. And so, I like a maroon look. I like that dynamic look, but I also recognize that that's not for everybody. And then the other thing that I could see was that there was a twist in it. And I don't think if I wasn't a spinner, I don't think I would have noticed. But that was at the time of our spinning, and we were also at New York Sheep and Wool at Rhinebeck. And so like, I was,
thinking
deep
about that.
in just really deconstructing what makes a yarn or a fiber, like what do I like about it, or like what are the differences, because when you show up there and there's just like everything, it was
so
helpful
much.
for me to just sort of think about, okay, like what do I want to knit,
How do I pare this
and like
down?
how do I make decisions between like the 75 sheep's browns. I need to actually think about like weight and construction and that kind of stuff. So I remember just being like, there's something different about this, and I know that I love it in my hands, and also I now understand the component parts of it that I didn't understand before, actually, to be honest. Yes.
So we were quite interested. I think the recommended gauge on this, so like, I mean, I think it's like 14 to 18 or so. So it's a like
bulky.
Would you say bulky, Erin? So, but it, as we'll see, it can go so many places. Like it's got like, it's not Nutiden, it's very different, but it has a Nutiden feel to me too.
It's
like
airy.
It can go places. Even when you pulled it out like that, I was like, that's like kind of what Nutiden looks like. The only difference is, of course, look at this, like, it's very
see the
strong.
bounce in that?
Oh yeah, that's true. You can see the
You
bounce.
can see the little bounce in it.
And the strength of the cotton, right? So as we'll get to, there are things that you might want some more strength to, items of clothing that you might want strength, and this is offering that as a possibility. So then I don't know how it all ended up happening, but I think so this is months later. So in December, Melissa got some, I think from the mill, a few more like samples, and did she just
I can't remember if we
Offer it?
aggressively asked for it or she.
We might
We might have. Okay,
might
hang
do
on.
things like that.
I aggressively asked for it at Rhinebeck.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, how did this happen? Like, how did we end up so lucky?
I was like, could not be polite. I was like, you know, I came in hot and I was just like, we've just met you. Can I have this?
But truly, we are now envisioning everything in this space. Like, it's like all I want.
To knit
I'm
is
gonna have
in this
so
space.
many things knit from this space. It's that good. In any case, we both ended up with three skeins of this that Melissa let us just six or three each.
Yeah.
Sorry. I ended up with the green, and then as you'll see, Jackie has a darker, you'll see, gorgeousness. Was it around this time the Gujo collar from Aeygo Knits was coming out? We wanted to knit it, and we were like, hang on a second. Looking at the gauge, looking at the different things, saying like, could this be? Does it have the structure? Maybe this might be a really great thing for the Aeygo collar. So I happened to, she had sent it to me, so I had my thing. So I cast on, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. And I made the collar however many, 3 inches or something. And you can look up what that looks like. It's really funny because we could literally just show them.
But I think it's important to see what it looks like in the sample.
I agree.
No, why am I looking up Gujo collar? That's not what's gonna show. Oh, look at it, it's right there.
There you go.
All right. How many podcast episodes are we gonna have to
Look
do
at you
for me to be able to
Well
actually
done,
show?
you did that perfectly. Okay, so you can see it's this gorgeous collar that you put over top of things. And we were both like, well, we must. And this sounds great. The gauge, what was the gauge? We should have looked it. Anyway, I think I looked it up. I think the gauge was my gauge bigger?
The gauge is 18 stitches by 18 rows in half fisherman's rib. And one of the things that I love about this pattern is that it's half fisherman's rib with the wrong side out.
Yes. Which is cool. It was good knitting. I really liked knitting.
I learned a lot of things.
This thing.
Yeah.
Wow, we still haven't even seen it. So I knit it, and I'm knitting in this whatever, and on a smaller needle, so I can't really tell, but I'm looking at my gauge. I think my gauge was a bit bigger, but not by much. I don't think it was too much. And so then I'm like, wait a second, Carmen. Usually I go through the entire thing. I just make the whole thing, and then I try it on, and I'm like, oh, and usually it works. But I tried this on. Actually, do you have my pic? Well, I don't know. It might not be an appropriate picture. Anyway, I tried it on, and it was a necklace. It hung down to here. I don't even know how many inches around it was. I was like, girls.
I'm not gonna be able to find it, but I just want to set up how this happened. So Carmen has the base. I think I was out of the country, and so I was just like, oh, and she's like, I cast it on. And she cast it on the world's smallest needle. And so I'm like, how is it feeling? And what's the gauge?
It wasn't that bad.
What's the circumference of a head? Can you get a 16-inch needle around your head?
Don't you make your heads in 16? Anyway.
I don't know. Anyway, so
you couldn't really tell.
And Carmen's like, look at it. Look how beautiful it is. And she shows this little sample of it. And she's semi-squish. No, you didn't squish it up. You just
it was squished
there was
on
a section
cord.
you could see. And then the other section was completely, you're like, let me show it to you.
I feel like there should be an appendix where we actually, on here, you get to see the crazy pictures that these girls have to deal with.
And you're like, what do you think? What do you think about the gauge? And you were so enthusiastic. And you're like, do you think, you were like, do you think it's going to work? And I'm like, Carmen?
It's really not going to work.
Do you want me to tell you what you want to hear?
You did say that!
Or do you want me to tell the truth?
You did say that.
And I was
and I had to think. I actually had, that wasn't an easy answer. I was
I didn't say anything. I actually didn't say anything. No. And you were like, I know what you're going to say. You're going to tell me that I have to put it on a big needle and try it on.
And I'm sure there was a very, very frowny face that I picture me frowning. How hard for me. And then I did. And it was a necklace. And I said, girls.
It was like, you know, in the, those like comic strips where there's like the first panel and the second panel, it was like Carmen and Joy, totally excited. And then Carmen completely deflated. Just like so sad.
So sad. And I'm like, can it be fixed? Can it all this? So it could. So then I think I texted or I was like, can I change the math? Can I do this? And you girls were like, yes, you can. And
you can modify.
I can modify.
It's a tube.
So I did math. And I was like, okay, well, how big do I want it around my neck? And I decided I wanted it around like 20, I think my ours ended up 24
circumference.
Inches. And then I looked at my gauge and I multiplied how much it was, how many stitches I would need with this gauge because that's what gauge swatching does for you. I did an unintentional gauge swatch, which I thought was my finished product, but was not, but it was very helpful. I was like, oh, I know exactly what's gonna happen with this. This was shocking. Anyway, so I did that. And I modified the pattern. Should we finally? Is that good? Should I now show?
You guys want to see this thing?
Are you ready? Okay, here.
There was a friend.
Oh,
you're gonna like
the green one. Oh, I know she styles it this way too, and I'm like, I like it with the hair in a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, look at how that's standing up, right? Like so it turns out that this is the perfect, this is the perfect wool for this pattern, in my opinion. Look at how it can stay, structured and stay up, because some wool can't. And I think you were saying, like, if you look at some of the projects, some of them do, well, we're gonna get to that. So ours is 24 inches around. The pattern is something like 27.67. I think I had to work that out. That was more math.
Yeah, so the circumference in the pattern is not that I was looking at. I was like, I'm not actually
I had to do the math with their gauge. Mm-hmm. Oh, and these have not been blocked yet.
Because the pattern actually tells you not to block.
Yeah. So knit this, and then of course every space. So what I did was I thought about that original, how much I was cutting it back by. It ended up being about, I think it was 75% of what
the total
stitch count was.
So
then I just kept adjusting things as I was going. So you have to like do different things. I think these were increases, probably.
Yeah.
There were a few things you have to make judgment calls on. We both did the same. Thinking that my gauge was bigger, like that it was going to be a bigger thing, I didn't do as many increases as in the pattern. The next one, because I'm going to knit another one because I wear this all the time. This is hitting me right at my shoulders, which is nice, but I actually think a little bit longer. I'd probably
wider.
Make one or wider
width,
a little bit a little bit bigger. But then I think these ones I was considering whether I should cut that back too, but I think I stuck to the original. Did you stick to the original?
I did not.
Okay, yours is wider.
Mine is wider because my gauge is larger than yours, and so this is So if you've never modified a pattern before, for me, I look at modifying patterns for desired size and different gauges in two different ways. The first way that you can look at modifying something is by knowing what you want the finished object size to be. And so this is, for something that's a tube, that's easy. For a top-down sweater, like whether it's a round yoke or raglan yoke, it's like the bust size, right? You know what your finished measurement is, and then you know what your gauge is, and then what you end up with is a stitch count. Like this is what my final stitch count needs to be, which is exactly what Carmen did, which ended up being 25% of the 75% of the stitch count given in the pattern. So that's like one way that's one sort of dimension of modification. But then when you're working with something that isn't just a straight tube where there's shaping involved, what I do is I figure out what that percentage is, like whether it's 75, and then I let me back up a second. So in this pattern, there's only one size?
Yes,
only one size?
Only one size.
Right, so because there's only one size, you only have one set of numbers to work with. And so what I did is that I went through the pattern and looked at sort of the key numbers for each sort of part of it. Like there's like the shoulder has a certain number of stitches, and the amount of decrease there, it says like, for example, this, I'm not telling you the pattern, but like, let's say it says like you have to decrease 10 times, right? I did 75% of the decreases.
Yeah, I started that way.
Yeah.
But then that's what I did here. And I think I even added, like, it didn't quite work out exactly the same. Right? But yeah.
Whereas if you're looking at a yoke sweater, like how I did this one, how I did the Easy Like Sunday Morning, is that I know the stitch count that I want to end up with. So let's say I know that for my gauge and my desired sort of finished size or circumference, I need to have 200 stitches. Then I go into the pattern and I go, okay, what size gives me 200 stitches? And then I end up knitting a different size. So you can adjust like by numbers, by like having your own set of numbers, different from the pattern like we did here. Or in a garment, what you can do is you can adjust the size that you knit in order to get you the size that you want.
That makes sense.
Anyhow, but there are some patterns where that happens really easily, right? And this is one of those patterns where I think Carmen and I were playing with different ways of modifying the pattern.
Now,
and ended up with different things.
Yeah, exactly. And there were places, like I wonder if I can put them, like there were just with the pattern, how you split your marker, like actually made a difference. Yeah. Like if you had, like if there was, let's say an uneven stitch count. So the marker sat like with the larger number here or the larger number here.
Yeah.
And it actually made a difference because before I had it the opposite and then my things didn't come out the right way because it started turning around, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was really a fun. I liked it. This was very fast. It wasn't
super hard to do. I feel like saying it out loud makes it seem far more complicated. But I think it's quite easy. I mean, Carmen, you are a prolific and skilled knitter.
But in terms of modifying it, like that's not my like. I don't do that very often. So I was able to do that. Like you'll be able to figure it out. I guess. Like
totally doable.
You know, if Jackie was like, it was simple. I just blah 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 blah. And I was watching this, I'd be like, yeah, okay, great. That's great, Jackie. But Carmen, Carmen, you might be like me. And I could do it, so you can do it. But yeah, it's super cute. It's a little bit higher in the back.
Shorter in the back.
Shorter in the back. That's the right word. There we go. And I put this on. Are you wearing it everywhere? I'm wearing it
all
everywhere.
The time.
I stick it on everything. You can stick it over top of coats. You can stick it under coats. You can put the coat over it. Like you can put this on top of it. Like I wore it with my little dress, like that'll show. Like it was minus 20 the other day, and I wore just my dress and this and my hat, just walking out.
Yeah, that's real warm.
It was warm.
I don't know that I've run cold. We have the opposite. We're on the opposite side.
And it wasn't like I was like shoveling snow. Like I was walking from my car to an inside place. But yeah, so you can see just like the stitch definition of this, which I also was surprised about because of the alpaca. Sometimes I find that can be so fuzzy, right? But the stitch is so beautiful. It holds up. I was also worried it was going to be too, because again, the alpaca, right? Like I love alpaca, but it can stretch out. It can be so drapey that it doesn't hold structure. Yeah. But I guess the cotton and the merino, right?
And the twist, and that little bit of twist.
Like that just stands up.
Yeah.
You know, like some like straight out wool doesn't do that. So.
I love this collar. It is like, we've talked about, you know, basically I love hugs. And so I knit hugs. And this is another hug in knit form.
100%. You'll feel it immediately when you put it on.
It's so cozy.
So cute.
And, you know, depending on where your like sensitive places are, there's there's nothing to be sensitive to. It's weird because people often talk about alpaca. And they're like, alpaca is so soft. But I feel like not all alpaca is made the same because about alpaca, they do have these little guard hairs, right? And so I've knit garments in alpaca that feel soft in my hand, and I'm like, feel soft as I, like there's a cardigan that I knit. And then I put it on and I was like, ah, prickle.
Really?
Yeah, like totally wild. But this is
no. This is everywhere. It's along the back of our necks. It's like, yeah.
I want to be covered. Like I was like, I would like to knit just a full body jumpsuit.
No, everything, as soon as this comes in, just so you know, everything's going to be in this. Like we are already like, just like knocking the like, you know, on their cues. Like every pattern, we're like, could we do like the Montreal base? Can it be Montreal? So there's going to be a lot of
luscious.
this.
It's
and
like a different kind
gorgeous,
of luscious.
This is gray, but like look at the blue. Like it's a slate.
This
gray.
is the slate gray of my dreams.
Oh. And there's dimension. Oh, that's one thing I also wanted to say. There's dimension in the
color
because I don't know if you're gonna see, but see it's got, I mean, sometimes you can see maybe the little white, I guess that's of the cotton, but there's green and then there's like almost a yellow in mine. I don't know.
That Kelly green, that reads, I don't know how it looks on the screen, but I'm like getting Kelly green vibes from that also.
Yeah.
Like there's just like undertone
like
of like
mossy,
leafy,
like...
greeny. But
it's so nice.
It's so nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, so is there anything else you want to say about this one? Because I was going to say, so I loved it so much that I was like, oh my God, I need to knit more.
Yeah.
It took
me a while. At Fisherman's Rib, you're like knitting into the row below.
I found it pretty fast.
I think you found it fast and I was like, oh man, like, but it was a joy. Maybe it was just that yours was done so much earlier than mine, and I was like, you will see the number of whips. I'm either knitting stockinette or I'm knitting something that is going to take the rest of my life. So this, because like I'm like big gauge, like why is it not done? And I just was like coveting Carmen's.
Because it does not grow as because half Fisherman's Rib is kind of like is like brioche, right?
Yeah.
So it takes it's 2 rounds before you're really like moving with it. But I found this amazing, or like really a great experience. And I was meaning more about how much it weighed.
160 grams.
160. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. 160. So you can, you know. So I had 1.5 things left. Now I'm about to go on a yoga teacher training out in should I say
BC.
Okay. I was like, should I say where I'm
BC.
Yeah. Okay. For a month. And I was realizing so I finished this one. I'm just like wearing it all the time. And I'm going, I need more of this. And at the same time realizing that I would like to have some like Savasana socks. Like when I'm there, I'd like to have some socks I can just like pull on. And I'm thinking, wait a second, like why not make a nice chunky pair of socks out of this? Because the cotton in it should hopefully, maybe that will give the strength, you know, that like nylon or mohair and things do. So, sorry, I think I got a fluff in my eye. So I started knitting So, I don't know what happened to Carmen. I don't know. Something happened 2024 or something. I'm like a new person. And I'm like, I start to pull out, because I made my sock rest, like my trusty toe-up sock that was like not that pattern at the end of it. Like I just changed it. Well, then I started to look on Ravelry. I'm like, are there Savasana socks? So Savasana is like the pose at the end of yoga where you're lying, corpse pose, you're just lying there. And it's nice to like warm up your feet and be toasty. Are there some socks? I started looking, I'm like, but Carmen, you can knit a pair of socks. You don't have to look at a pattern, you can do this. So I did. But the socks, the Savasana socks, I'll get to those. Those were my second, because when I first started knitting it, I was thinking I was gonna make a chunky pair of socks, but as I was knitting it, I was like, these are so amazing. I need them on my feet, but the Savasana socks were gonna be like house socks, right? Like just
like reading socks
yeah,
that are like
pull them
slouchy
on,
and like bigger.
Yeah, I was gonna
you're
have a
not
big
worried
gauge.
about, you know, wearing it in like Blundstones or boots or things.
Which is what I do, and I wreck all my socks this way. So actually I was like, what would this be like? No, I want a pair of socks that could be everyday socks. And so what I decided, knowing what I'd done wrong in other socks, like with Nutiden, the reason I think getting holes a lot were because the gauge was too big, like it was too loose. So I thought, okay, well, what would this be like in like a much skinnier needle? Because my needle for this, I think, was a 6, US 6, so 4 millimeters. And instead, I think I did these on a 3, so 2.75.
I don't know them down that low.
3.25. 3.25. Don't listen to me. So anyway, it's such a difference, right? Like, so this is super, super squishy. These have much more of a density to them, but in a sock, that's what I was like, I was very excited. And as I was doing it, I was like, well, I can just keep designing things. So what else do I find? I know that I want, where do I get holes? I get holes around the heels and the heels here. I should say, okay, I'm knitting this. I decided, you know, I just did like a broken rib because I was influenced by my Varvinter dress, which I'll show you. I was really into that. I wanted to put the broken rib on the top, but I love just a stockinette bottom.
Brilliant.
And then I got to like the heel and I'm like, how am I gonna do, you know, the heels? Because I do a lot of heels, but I have never really thought about it. I just followed the directions. But after my positive experience with shifting the one in the trusty toe-up socks, I was like, well, what are some other heel constructions? Because I like that one, but I wanted something a little bit more sturdy. And I knew I wanted to reinforce this. So I found, we'll link it, I'll give it to you, Jackie, a really great tutorial about, like actually it's for knitting all, like the whole sock, I didn't realize this, but the heel construction tutorial free on YouTube was awesome. So I did that. She has the reinforcing starting here. And I was like, that, or she said you could do that optionally. I'm like, that's brilliant, because usually if you knit socks, I always see it here, the reinforcement, but not underneath.
And so you knit these toe up. Right, the tutorials for toe-up socks. Yeah.
Yes. Now, remember the last time I said that I made it skinny, like shorter? This one I actually went all the way up to that crease where your foot lifts. I did it longer. And I just shaped, and she had some great ideas for how to shape it and figure out like when to turn the heel. Now, because I had so many less stitches than normal, on this one, I was using, oh God. I'd have to go back 24. I did, yes, I have all of the information. Okay. I'm gonna write it up, and so you can have all of this because I was very careful to write it up. But let's say it was about 24 on each side, whereas like in a typical sock, even in that person's sock, I think she was working with 62 stitches altogether. So like 48 versus 62.
It'll go faster.
It doesn't matter. It goes so fast. It's so fast. And so I just like went up, and then I just
it's such a can we talk about how beautiful that is?
Isn't it pretty?
And like there's no holes.
Yeah.
I don't know how you reinforced it, but I can feel that it's stronger.
It's stronger. It's just a slip. Every other you slip it, right? So you end up with, so what that does is you have a float behind.
Right. So
you
it's like
end
a double fabric.
Double
Okay,
fabric,
gotcha.
which is really great. And then I just went all the way to the top, and then I continued because I was already ribbing, right? With a broken rib, I just continued it with a smaller, a smaller.
So you went
needle.
for the ribbing where sock ribbing normally is. You drop down. What cast
About
off
this
did you
size.
use?
And then I did that Elizabeth Zimmerman's sewn bind off. She's got a number of them. This one is the one where it's literally you're just going through the purl and you're taking off the knit, and then you don't do the back knit, you know, like
it's not the Italian.
It's not the
bind
Italian
off.
bind off.
Yeah, okay.
It's so easy. It's so super simple.
So beautiful.
They're like just nice and tight. Now I've been wearing these, so like I just want to show, like there's there's a little bit of like the fluff, you know, but pretty good, right?
Oh my God.
Did you put them on? Here, let's put those ones on. And I made it very tight, so it's kind of hard to get, like I always want my socks to be kind of hard to get around my heel so that it stays really nice and up. So,
keep talking.
Okay. So I'm so happy with that, but and that one took 73, oh look at, I wrote it down, 79 grams to do those socks. Yeah. That's how Carmen rolls. Yeah, you're gonna do the little rockets. Oh look, these are so cute. Aren't they so like? They are just luxury. But you're gonna have those ones on, and then you're gonna try. Then I made another pair. Now I was like, but I still need my Savasana socks. Like these ones are great, but they are like regular socks, and I wanted something like bigger and fluffier. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this again, but now I'm gonna use a size 8 needle. So going from a size 3 to a size 8. So size 8. We just went through it, Carmen. It's a
5 millimeter.
It's 5 millimeter. Similar things. Now I'm in the process of making these again, and I'm gonna make this. I cast on six stitches each side. I'm changing that to 8 because I feel like that's a little pointy in my opinion. And I increased to 18 stitches per side, and now I'm gonna move it down to, no, the first one was 18, those I think, 16, and now I think I'm doing 14 each side. So you can imagine how fast this is. The difference in the feel is significant. I decided not to do the broken rib on this one, but as I was thinking about things, again, I'm trying to like think, what do I need? Where do I find holes? So in addition, and I really like this reinforcement, and I realized
it's also
I also
it's gorgeous.
get holes sometimes on the bottom.
The pad.
Me
too.
Right? So I was like, well, why not? Like, I mean, you can just do this. So I just did about, I don't know, 2.5 inches or something of reinforcement there. Then I did the same heel construction. And then I just went up. And this one, I increased then my needle size. I added, I think, 4 stitches, because what I'm looking for in my next one is gonna be even more, like almost like an 80s, like I want it to be a bit
to slouch.
Like I want a slouchy knit. So yeah, throw those ones on. And so I'm making them again. And all of this stuff I will have on my Ravelry available, and I'll give it to Melissa too in case anybody is interested.
Oh my God.
Right? Right? Like,
okay.
No joke.
They're instant relaxation socks.
They are. They are.
I mean, I love these, but this, like, it is
ones.
the Savasana sock because it's like instant
Yes.
Oh.
It's like putting silk on. And the thing is, our sizes are when you make your size, it will be even more like, because it literally just fits your foot. You have decided every little piece to just fit your foot perfectly and just sit and be comfy in this gorgeousness.
It feels so good. Well, I have extra.
Uh-huh.
I'm real resistant to socks. But I'm pretty sure I need this, or we can do some kind of trade where you knit me socks.
I could knit you socks. Like these take, I think it was a day and a half. Like it's nothing, but especially these other ones. Like God, like they just are so fast. Yes,
I rock at it. I mean, we have different size feet.
Yeah.
Ooh, actually, it's all like nice and slouchy on me.
That's right. See, here she goes. Oh, here. Thank you. Aren't they so cute? And I ran out of wool, so I was gonna make it. So I would make it the next time up even more, like a longer one. So Melissa was very, very
so happy.
generous to give me one more. I was like, can I make?
So I think beginning of March, maybe.
Yes. I think so.
That it will be available because quite. I mean, part of that aggressive Melissa, please let us. Was like she basically had the test batch, and she was so generous with us and giving us stuff from the test batch, and letting us, be a part of the process of. I think I remember. Oh, I think this is how it happened. She basically wanted feedback on the base, right? Because the mill had tested it.
That's right.
And this is where my I was like, well, we'll give feedback. I was like, what kind of feedback do you need?
We will give you the feedback.
I will give you one of my kidneys. It was just, and so.
Oh my God.
Once
you feel it, you're gonna get it. You're gonna understand why we're so insane, going on about.
Again, and I've said this a million times about becoming a spinner, is as you start to understand construction, and you don't have to be a spinner for this, right? We're trying to share this information so that you don't have to be a spinner, but the process of becoming a spinner has helped me to understand, how do I get not only what I want to see with my eyes, but more importantly, how do I get what I want to feel?
Yes, exactly.
How do I get what I want to feel? And so, larger gauges, smaller gauges, that's a piece of it, but also construction. And, I remember this pattern from Aeygo Knits is a pattern that I, when it came out as a tiny swatch, I was like, I need this. Like like it's like I'm like refreshing their Instagram feed to see, you know, has she teased when she's going to publish? Because Carolyn does this thing where she like shows things and then she always has the hashtag going so you can see all the testers' versions like while they're testing. Like it's not a secret test, generally speaking. And then she's so kind about like at some point she'll post like, I will be releasing this at some time. So it was like Advent season. I was like, is the Gujo color coming? Because it was so beautiful and I just didn't know. I was like looking at my extensive stash and I didn't know what I could knit it out of. And I just feel like this was the perfect thing, you know? Y'all know that my first go-to was like, okay, how do I knit this out of Nutiden? Like what needle size do I use and like how many strands?
Yes.
But having knit the Saturday Shrug by Jackie Rose in Nutiden, I love my Saturday Shrugs. I wear them all of the time and I know Nutiden to like it's floppy. It's floppier than I wanted it to be and I feel like this has the perfect flop, right? Because you can imagine if it was like super structured, then it wouldn't sort of drape nicely. But I feel like this is draped really beautifully.
Yes.
I've been doing this every so often.
Yeah, me too.
Like when I go outside and I feel like I need extra cozy, I'll fold it in.
Yeah.
And you know.
I know. And the thing is you can adjust it how you like, right? Like, so you can, now that we've shown it's possible, you can make this even, I might make a version,
margarita.
A version that is even a little bit tighter, you know, like maybe I'll take out a few, like more stitches like so that it is even closer.
There's the fold-over version, which I would wear all the time if I hadn't done something wonky here and have this little piece that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I don't know what I did. But I like it folded over as well. And then what I will say about wearing the collar is that our friend Hilla from Danish Musings, she tested. And if you look at her, if you watch her podcast or you go to her grid, she does this like the chicest thing ever where she like wears it like a hood.
Yeah, she's very cool.
She's very like, I don't know. This
look is cool.
I don't know if this look is working for me. But one of the things that I realized with the smaller circumference is that you're not able to hood it up
as well.
So when I think about knitting this again, I might actually go for the
original,
a larger circumference to let me do the little hood piece. I mean, I guess it looks okay from the front, but it looks definitely
that looks very strange. Like, maybe if you had your coat over top.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's just so good.
It is so good.
It is so good.
We are very happy.
So we, like you, will be waiting for when it comes, and I actually after I bound off the collar, I was like, I need a sweater.
Yeah.
I need a sweater in this and the fisherman's
coming.
rib, and it's coming.
I know.
And I'm like, Carolyn, I can see it's right now. It's a swatch. I checked the hashtag. There's no testing that's happening yet, but I'm looking forward to a garment's quantity of this. I'm curious as to how hot it will be as a garment. How hot do you find it in your socks?
It's perfect.
Not that hot.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And I find this perfect.
I find this perfect also.
Like I'm sitting here with Nutiden on and this on top. It's fine. But you know what I can feel, which I love, is this like, I can feel the warmth. Like it actually gets trapped, especially if you fold it like this.
Yeah,
There's actually like
I think it feels folded.
If you stuck your hand in, you'd be able to feel warmth. Like it gets kind of trapped in there. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's awesome. Awesome.
We love it.
Yep. Love all of it. Love the
and like
pattern,
I do also think this might be the beginning of like collars. Like I mean collars have been in for a while, and in my head I was like, why would you have a collar?
You mean collar
designs?
Oh
but
yeah.
I really love
I
it.
find this really convenient to stick on when you're cold and you don't want to wear it. You know, it's got a shawl kind of feel to it, but even warmer. Like a shawl gets you. It just gets you warmed up. I really like it.
Gujo collar by Aeygo Knits. All right.
Okay, so I think I think we should talk about do you want to talk about the KAL?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can show things based on that.
So should I talk about the KAL first?
Yes.
And then we'll show objects?
Cards.
Okay.
That's what I think.
So, what we have decided to do, what is happening here? What we have decided to do as a year-long KAL is what we're calling a Year of Junko. Junko being Junko Okamoto, who is a Japanese knitwear designer who we love.
She's iconic.
I especially love. And the genesis of the knit along was sort of twofold. One is, if you've been here for a while, about 1 year ago, Carmen and I were like, we're going to start this KAL called the Toothpick Knits KAL, where we knit with tiny needles as a way to inspire and motivate and create some momentum around our desire to knit the Twig sweater by Junko Okamoto.
It was really basically for that.
Basically for that. And so
which obviously wasn't enough.
that didn't happen. It did not happen. Let me see if I can. So the Twig sweater is this gorgeous top down round yoke all color work sweater.
Look at this. Oh God.
This is one of the versions of it.
And just the construction, like look at the unique shape of that sweater.
One of the things that I adore about Junko, for me, there's a couple of things. One is that the motifs that she has like a giant pantheon of knits, and I've brought some of my previous Junko knits that I'll put on and talk a little bit about. She has a giant pantheon of colorwork knits, and the motifs that she creates in her colorwork to me are just beautiful. They're unique.
Yeah.
They're often a little aspirational. They're often like botanically or nature inspired, and like they are of course geometric because it's colorwork knitting, but geometric in a different way than a lot of color work, like sort of Nordic, Scandinavian, like inspired color work. And so I love her motifs. And the other thing that I love about Junko is she has very unconventional silhouettes.
Yes.
And very unconventional constructions. So the Twig sweater, and a lot of her patterns only come in one size.
Yeah.
And so the Twig sweater, I think, for me was a great place. Like I think of it as being a good place to start with Junko because it's a top-down round yoke sweater, and also because the pattern has been around for a while. There are lots and lots of people who have knit the sweater that is one size. And you can see that sort of one size sweater on lots of folks.
Yes.
And there's something about the proportion of this particular sweater that it just kind of works.
Yes.
And on many different like heights and shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
There is quite a bit of positive ease. And there's like a balloon sleeve, all that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to say was that I went on Ravelry, and there are so many people who have amazing notes on how it is that they modified the pattern.
Right.
This like one size pattern to fit them, inclusive of like stitch counts, like just amazing resources. And so the resources are already there. And what I thought would be fun, because we do a lot of modification and all that kind of stuff, is that as we are knitting our twigs, we can talk a little bit about our modifications and sort of the process of how we're making this pattern work for us and sort of our desires, right? And so we thought that might be fun to sort of do together and include you in sort of some of the decision points about how we're going to make this work. And I think there's a lot of learning for me around, what I love and how I can knit knits that I love.
Yes.
That's a part of that.
I love that.
So that's sort of the first piece. In terms of participating in the KAL, we're gonna do it classic, super loosey-goosey style. And the idea is that if you knit any of Junko's patterns, or incorporate something from Junko's patterns into another pattern, then you can consider that sort of your entry, or you can consider yourself sort of participating in the knit along. And so what I am going to take a moment to show is my Junko knits and the ways that I have been working with Junko's patterns, following the pattern and then also not following the pattern as a way to sort of inspire you. Because when we talked about doing this for the Twigs, I was like, okay, done. You guys a couple episodes ago helped me pick my color story for the Twigs. But when I started thinking about this KAL as being an opportunity, a little bit like our Inspired by Ellen KAL, to sort of work with motifs, then the creativity like exploded. And so now I have like a bajillion different ideas in terms of how I'm gonna work with some of her patterns, not knitting her pattern, and I'm also gonna do the Twigs. So there's a sweater here. Most of these, if you've been here for a while, you already know, with the exception of one. So this is a very, very old finished object.
So beautiful.
But that I haven't shown on the podcast.
I love this one.
So this is the Bouquet sweater by Junko Okamoto. This I knit in Rosaria Brusca, exactly the same things as the sample. Now it's actually interesting because this is one of my earlier knits, and I remember knitting it, thinking it was absolutely beautiful, putting it on and being like, what is happening with the fit?
Really?
Yeah. Even as I put it on now, do you see this?
Yeah, what the heck?
Right? Like, it's visually stunning.
Yes.
And I also had this moment where I was like, I am the saddest human in the world because it doesn't fit me right. And even now, I mean, when I first cast it off, I was like, I had like, did I have a good cry? Like I was like, because I had, you know, at that time it was early in my career, I wasn't making any modifications. I, you know, just checked gauge, and my gauge is probably off. But I'd like painstakingly done all of these motifs, which is color work, as well as these sections where your floats are kind of on the outside. But like, can we talk about how creative this is?
I know.
Like,
It's
just
beautiful.
absolutely amazing. But
It is
fit,
beautiful.
for me, it didn't work.
Something happened.
happened.
Because these are, yeah.
So from a construction point of view, the Bouquet sweater, you can sort of think of having 3 panels, and your increases are happening, like, if I turn around slowly, you'll see that the motif sort of happens once, twice, and third, and your increases are sort of happening in between. So you know how a raglan has 4 increase points? This has 3 increase points. And something about the increase points at the back for my body created this like funny bubble.
Yep.
And there was something about just the proportion of, and this is probably like my color work, that it sort of comes in strange, the raglan is really deep, the sleeves weren't quite the right length. And so I love it.
It is really stunning.
It's stunning, and
Like,
I
I imagine
also
it
there
would
are
feel
pieces
awkward.
around it that are weird for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that I also realized in the process of knitting this is that I love it visually, to see it, like, you know, in the flat lay or in the, like, you know, put it on a hanger. Back in the day when I did actually document things, I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But when I put it on, it feels super busy to me. Like it's a Jackie
I can
color
see
story,
you
it's neutrals,
seeing
like
that.
it feels quite busy.
I like it.
And so I was not so happy with this version,
Can I just show the
but I loved it so much
floats here? Oh, that's work. Look at that.
that I committed to trying it again, right? So version 2, which remains one of my favorite sweaters of all time.
This one, you showed this one, because this is pretty incredible, and you have to be a pretty smart person to figure out to do this. Yes, you do. Like, to know to do this is so amazing.
So this is the Bouquet sweater.
A little different.
That I hacked. So I won't go into super big details around this, but the idea is just to sort of like inspire you to think about, you know, if you are looking at her library of patterns and thinking that things are like, it's too aspirational, or you're daunted about sizing, or you're daunted about like complexity. There are ways that I hope you'll invite yourself into participating or allowing yourself to play with that aspiration, but in a way that sort of works for you. So what I did was I knit the pattern. This is knit in Nutiden Yarn in the colorway Gateway, and then a Alpaca held double from a dyer called Hypothesis Yarns, who's no longer dyeing. Basically what I did is that I knit it, I omitted one of the motifs. So I knit it, it's knit in the round, top down. I omitted one of the motifs here and sort of carried floats across here using a technique called ladder back jack
That's a big deal.
This is on my Ravelry in a very like sparse kind of way because I knit the sweater before we podcasted and I was like, I don't need to know. But it sort of gave me the visual impact that I wanted. It was really fun to work with color work using different sort of like textures. But the other thing that I did is that I did not follow the increases. I sort of did, I did the increases and I just kept trying it on. And I knew what I wanted my finished bust size to be. And I just
did it until
I got there.
Good.
You know, and that little chicken is not supposed to be there, but I love the little chicken so much that I was like, I'm just gonna plop it. And I keep thinking to myself, I want to knit a pair of Vela mitts that just have little chickens on them.
Yes.
Right? And so, you know, that's one of my ideas for the KAL is like chicken mittens. Because like how cute are you?
That is so cute.
Like it's so cute.
Oh God.
And then also to make this less daunting compared to the original version, I also didn't do all of the other motifs, right? Like it wasn't in the original, sort of goes all the way down. So something to consider.
I love that sweater.
And then the last one that I'll show, again, if you've been here.
Is it okay if I show your, like, because I just feel like you should, because I'm like, you know that front section where it's like, oh, no big deal. It's just like, you know, you don't have to knit. Look at what you got to do. Look at what you have to do. Oh. Worth it. So worth it.
So this was my audition for the Twigs
remember
sweater.
this one.
This is the Royal Symphony pullover by Albina McLaughlin. And it's a beautiful color work pattern that she had a motif for. And I was like, but I love the Twigs motifs. And so I knit the sweater exactly to pattern exactly to Albina's patterns, but I just used the Twigs motifs. You know, big gauge, happy camper. So
Gorgeous.
a Year of Junko, lots of options. But we're starting with the Twigs. Carmen, do you want to show?
It's actually happening. Sure, I can show mine. I don't even remember, like, I feel like I've had my Twigs colorways for a long time, and it took this KAL. The first KAL wasn't enough, but this Junko KAL it's done it. I finally have cast it on. Now it's so funny you were saying about the mods that we're going to be making. Who wants to guess if Carmen has looked at any of the Ravelry things yet? Like, have I thought to mod anything? No, the answer, not. So it may be that Jackie shows what she does, and I love it with a little tank too, hey? It's so cute. Maybe that I switch it, but who knows? Who knows? I'm a wild card. So one thing that Jackie had said, based on the previous knitting experience, and I think Lily, our friend Lily from Curatorial Knits, did this as well. She had finished the Twigs, and also Megan, part of this,
actually,
is because when we went to Rhinebeck, we bunked with Lily, and then her friend Megan was also at Rhinebeck, and so then she came over and she was wearing her Twigs. And I think we were both like, we wanted to knit it until we saw hers, and then we could not knit it.
I couldn't stop thinking about it.
It's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
So I guess I know that you were saying, Lily, like sometimes people, I guess, have a bit of a bulkiness with the short rows.
So I have cast the Twigs on in the past year. I've cast it on, this is my third try. Okay. And the first try and the second try, I knit according to pattern, but was having like gauge things and fabric things. And what I noticed is that when I knit it, according to pattern, I ended up with this little humpy thing. Like it didn't fit the shape of my neck to shoulder slope, didn't work. Right. So as a result of that, when Carmen cast it on, I was like, don't do the ribbing.
without, so the idea is that I'll pick up and knit my collar after, in case there's some weirdness going on.
Which is what Lily did. She picked up, actually, I don't know if she picked up, but Lily did a folded collar, down collar, which looks really good. And Lily, I'm sorry, I cannot actually remember if you picked it up and then folded it down, or if you cast it on, folded it down, and then sort of started with the body.
Do we know where this is probably the back here. I know you were saying it's a weird beginning of round.
Yeah, the beginning of round is not in the center back. The beginning of round is the back left.
Okay.
So this look at the color
so far. Oh my god. I don't even think this is coming out as well as.
Look at this. Yeah, that's better.
Oh my god. Okay, colors. We have to talk about colors because the colors are so good.
Okay, again, quiz. What kind of wool am I using? What yarn company? Sonder Yarn Co.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
4-ply.
4-ply.
Yeah. Which is a 75-25 BFL Masham.
Non-superwash. So the main color is Dream State, which is like a dark teal. Full English is this, whatever we call that, bronzy color. And then Free Spirit is my pink. And I am just so loving this. And I will say, speaking to what you were saying about her patterns. So in the color work, most color work I've done, you generally fairly quickly get the rhythm of the color work, and you you kind of know it, and then you go around and you do your thing.
They're
memorizable.
You can memorize the motifs and read your knitting.
Yes, and read your knitting. This one, there's no in some of them. So some of these, and actually it's really nice because this one, no. You just have to pay attention. But then this one, totally. And then totally. So you get these breaks, and then you get back into these sections of
more complex.
And there's longer floats so you have to deal with. These are the pieces where I feel what I like about this KAL is it's encouraging me to make this sweater that I know at the end of the day is going to be just so cool to have, and it's so different, but it's harder than other things that I would normally do. So this will obviously have a collar then in the dark that comes up, but I'm very happy.
Talk to me about what your experience of knitting it has been. So the other thing that we'll say is that the Twig setter, the gauge, the pattern gauge is teeny tiny. I don't know it offhand
28?
Because it makes me feel sad to think about it.
It might be 30 or 32 actually.
Yeah.
I think my gauge was doing pretty well, but I haven't done it. It was good at the top. I don't know.
Do you think that your gauge is changing as you go?
It could be.
Okay, the Twigs pattern. The gauge is 30 stitches by 32 rows. That just makes me feel sad.
It's on,
But that's why I'm curious about your process. So you're knitting on
twos. Yeah.
Okay.
2.75. As I say, it's okay. It is a knit. I'm enjoying it very much. I do enjoy color work. I do also, I hate the length of time for toothpick knits, but I like the experience of it. To be honest, I've been knitting some larger projects with larger needles, and I find my hands don't feel as comfortable. This is really quite nice for me. I also will say I just love bamboo needles. These are the Gu bamboos, and they're sharper than the metal.
Yeah, they come to a nicer point. Huh?
Yeah, but they break like a mofo. I've broken so many size 2s. Even I think I broke a size 3 too. But yeah, so I think for me, the color work, even though all over color work seems daunting, it's good for me because if this was just stockinette, I might die. It might be fatal. I might die.
Okay.
Can't do it.
Well, can't have that happen.
Just kidding. I won't die. Don't worry. I won't die. But it would be awful and I wouldn't finish it. Whereas here, I'm okay, just you go through it. And
just one more is kind of
it is this. Just get through. And the funny thing is, I was doing these, and I will say by this point, I'm kind of want to like do the cool thing. And so then it was right there, you know?
Yeah.
And then I know after this one, because it's quite a large, you know, you've got your
Motif.
thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a larger motif. I think I'm halfway. And then I'll go back to some easy ones, right? And then back in. So I am very much enjoying it, but I am a person that likes to like bring knits with me places. And I've realized I cannot like stop bringing this one, Carmen, because you need to just keep it at home. And I actually think I need to like devote a certain amount of time per day where I just do this and then I move on and do some other things.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, I don't know how many of you do this who are like non-monogamous knitters do this. But I like to think previously I had some like strategy around multiple whips in the sense that like, you know, there would be something that was like just stockinette or garter, and then there was something that was like a little more engaging. And this is definitely like, it's interesting because it is sometimes a very engaging knit. And then sometimes, you know, in these motifs, it's really quite meditative. Like you have to look and you have to be paying attention. But I feel like when I'm knitting my twigs, I drop into a certain kind of like headspace that's really kind of pleasant. Like there's something about it where I feel really present with it.
Right.
And just sort of like I'm in the flow of the knitting, and in as much as, you know, it's the gauge is 30 stitches per 4 inches. Like I won't also tell you the number of how many stitches you end up with in the yoke, because again, I think from a psychology point of view, it's just better not to know.
I haven't even gotten to the full.
Right? Like it's a lot of stitches, but like I feel like I just am like flowing with time and flowing with knitting.
Yes.
And this is one, and present with it. And this is one where I found I have to set a timer.
To stop
Kind
of thing.
Yeah, like I just have no idea how much time has passed.
Actually,
and it's like the perfect amount. I feel like it's just the perfect amount of engagement. And you know, when you get to the more complex motifs, I'm like, hey, don't do this 11:30 after you've like worked 10 hours. Like, is not the right time. And don't try to do it watching. Like I'm not reading a book. I'm not watching YouTube or like anything. Music. I like to listen to music during it. Me too. That's it's either silence or I have music, and it's just, you know, in a way. A lot of my knitting that I do now these days is like I'm multitasking, and this is my like it's my presencing knit. You know, it's like when I have the space and the desire to just kind of like be with the knitting and to dive into like color, and this is what I go to. And also I mean, I have a personal deadline in terms of when I want to get it done. If it actually gets done or not is a different story, but we're hoping to have it done for Knit City Toronto, which we're going to be going to. We're hoping to have our twigs done for then. But you know, if it doesn't have, like I'm insistent that I don't want to turn it into a deadline knit. So that's like a loose sort of plan. But I'm really happy to hear that you're enjoying it, because I am fully going to take ownership of the fact that I made a Kal to bully you into knitting the twig sweater with me.
You didn't bully me. You encouraged me and knew that is what I'm gonna need. I am like, honestly though, I am so happy with this color situation. So like I just really, and that's motivating too, right? Like, so it's like wanting to see how it all comes out, and it's a beautiful pattern in that, like, you've got 2 colors to work with, but like deciding like which one do you make, you know? Like I was like, do I want it to be little like berries, or do I want it to be like the leaves pink, you know? Like,
oh, fun.
These decisions. Am I following
the pattern in terms? So the pattern as written, there's a main color and 2 contrast colors. Are you following the pattern as written?
You mean rather than
CC1
switching?
And CC2?
I have been, because it's been the way I've wanted it to be. Like I like the idea there's tips of pink, like, so it's almost like these like leaves are turning to me. Like it's like little things like that I like it, and little flowers. So it works for me, but yes, you could totally change it. Look at you. Oh,
so I have you all to thank for this.
Behind.
And dropped like 8 badillion stitches and trying
I
to
know,
get this
I
over
just
my
did
head.
it too. Oh my God.
So this is my version. Actually, do you want
it's nice to see it with the collar. Do I want the story?
The story?
Of course.
So I when I conceived of wanting to knit the Twigs sweater the first time around, what I had thought at that time was that I wanted to do something that felt a little bit like my like Nutiden Bouquet sweater. So I actually tried to cast the Twigs on in Nutiden single stranded on a US size 1, but I didn't have enough contrast for the motifs. Shocking development. So that was like, okay, well, that's not gonna work. And
that would be a lot of work to have no contrast.
Yes. And then, you know, when I look at this, I think, you know, like the twigs, I think about like sort of like vines and leaves and acorns, like sort of foresty. And my thought process was to, I wanted to do something that was like a little bit unique or like a different interpretation of it. So one of the things that I started with was the idea of using floral colors with the twig sweater. And what I had envisioned was using mohair in botanical colors, and I wanted to sort of like do it as a fade. So I had tried to do that. I'll just show you the beginnings,
still pretty.
Which, you know, it's
you
La
can't see it quite
Bien-Aimée
as much.
mohair with like a speckled mohair. And then this is some of my favorite farm yarn from Elfworks, Leatherworks, is that correct? But you know, you can see that this is where I cast it on as the pattern. And do you see this like humpy, lumpy thing at the back? And I tried it on and it just wasn't working for me in terms of the short rows. When I look at it on screen, I do think, well, Jackie, like, why didn't you go forward with it? It's so beautiful. But just didn't feel right. There was something about it that didn't feel right. I also think that in the yarn choice, the main color was a Gotland silk. And so it was like a Gotland, 65% Gotland, 35% silk, and then silk mohair. And you were like, Jackie, like those are like you can make it work, but like, are you fighting? Because this is like steam blocked, and I just didn't feel like it just seemed, I don't know, the motifs weren't as clear. It was harder to see.
Yeah, and they're so beautiful.
And so at the
Look
end
at
of the
it,
day,
it really changed. This is very easy
I
to
was
see.
just like, you know what? Like, forget trying to be creative. Find like just work with the same yarn. Don't use different things. And rather than trying to put together colors by buying things online and trying to match colors together, like just go with something where somebody has curated the palette already. So that's how we ended up with Sonder Yarn Co. This is also the Sunny Morning 4-ply in the colorways Under the Duvet, Window Shopping, Tickled, and Catnap, which you guys helped me pick. Do you remember?
It's so funny. I'm ending up with that completely in my Artus. It's really funny.
Yeah. So I am loving this knit. I am really happy with how the ribbing has turned out. You know, because I did what I told Carmen to do, which is to cast on first under it, and then I picked up and have done the ribbing, and I think it's worked out quite well. I mean, it'll be different once I add arms. My current plan, based on what I've read on Ravelry, is to knit this motif, and then there's one more motif, and then you sort of split for sleeves. And that's when I'll make a decision around whether I'm going to shift the number of stitches that I have in the yoke and the arms. Because one of the nice things about the motif is there are a couple complex ones, but a lot of them are like 2 and 4 and 6 stitch repeats. And when you have those kinds of motifs, I think it's easier to make adjustments on a top-down round yoke around, you know, how far do I want the raglan to be, or how wide do I want the yoke. So, you know, we'll see what happens. What was wonderful about seeing Megan's version, like live on her, and then also, you know, when we were walking around Rhinebeck, which is just like, you know, an explosion of beauty, I noticed that every single twigs that I saw was beautiful.
Yes.
And had a lot of positive ease.
Yes.
Right? Like I was seeing it on all different kinds of people, all shapes and sizes, all like different colors. And somehow there was a lot of positive ease, like made it look chic. Like I was like, I think the beauty of this
the
is
look
actually
of it.
the look of it, like the silhouette of like a lot of ease.
Yeah.
And then the arms sort of are almost like a balloon, and then there's this like rib that like sort of brings it together in what I think is a really beautiful way. So I'm still sort of on the fence about whether I'm going to make adjustments to the stitch count for my magic numbers, or whether I'm just gonna like go for it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about just going for it.
So I'm thinking that I might go for it, or if I don't go for it completely, like the adjustment that I make is going to be super minor. But I love how this is looking.
It's so pretty. And you've used 2 contrast colors.
3
contrast colors.
Yeah, I have 3 contrast colors.
Yeah, sorry. I have 2.
Yeah, you have 2.
That's right.
So I have 3, and I am not really planning. Like I'm kind of like going somewhat intuitively in terms of like which contrast color I use where. This window shopping one is probably is like the main like CC1. It's the one that there is the most of, and then I'm playing with Catnap and Tickled, which I think, you know, they're pretty close. Like I think from far away, I might get away with the idea that it kind of looks like 2 colors because they're pretty close. Like our friend Lily, she has 5 colors, but a lot of her, like she has a lot of the colors are really close, and that's sort of how I ended up here. And the choice of these colors was just like looking at skeins and being like, you're beautiful together, and I need to find a contrast color. Would you guys help me pick? So
beautiful.
Twigs, come Twigs with us.
Yes.
Year of Junko.
Yay.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Okay, maybe I'll say, like I look at my watch, but like as if that's a thing. I should look at that time, 2:35. Okay. Just in speaking. So we're making, so I was convinced by you and Melissa to make the Artus shawl by Natasja Hornby Moonstruck knits. This one here. And what's really funny is I bought 5 skeins, or like I had 4, so it's 4 contrast colors and a main color. And I got a whole thing. Melissa and Sonder has kits. They're gorgeous and amazing. But I was like, no, I'm gonna pick my own. And I picked my, like, maybe I should have brought it, but I can maybe post a thing. I picked a very standard Carmen color palette, and it had like, you know, so my main color is actually like a, well,
Cover to cover.
Yeah, so a navy. And so I had a red in there, and like actually burnt, perfectly burnt was in there, so very bright, like an orange, orange color, and I can't remember the other ones. And in the meantime, like we talk about these, like we get our goddess readings with Amy Palco, and one thing that's been coming up, so maybe I won't say who my goddess is, but like the goddess for my year, so I get it done monthly with her, but also then there's the whole year. And in 2024, the goddess that like showed up for me was so perfect, and actually she showed up for me twice in 2023 too, so she's really like readings. Hello, yes, hello. But one thing that came to, and Amy was with me when we were talking about this, like one thing I've been feeling intuitively is that I want to make actually knits that are less busy, less
punchy.
Now this one actually is like, because I had already been. This is so classic me, right? Like, so and that's kind gorgeous. Of and it's gorgeous, and I'm
the
very
Twigs
happy.
Is a statement piece, like
absolutely. You know? I'm so happy, and it's not like that. I don't want to do that, but I will say that there is something about a phase I'm moving into where I want my garments not to be as bold. I want them to be beautiful, but like more of a backseat, if that makes sense, not be the star of the show kind of thing. So I'm knitting I've cast on my Artus, and I'm like, no, the other colors were very, very like, hello. And I want something that's going to be a little bit like more, still beautiful, but muted, like more muted. Like this is still, like it's gorgeous, right? Like look at all the things. So beautiful. But because of the colors, I feel like they're neutral colors. They don't take over. Whereas mine was probably going to be like kind of takeover kind of feeling. Maybe not.
Not takeover. I think it's like I do think the word that keeps coming to me is punchy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think about, it's not about beauty. It's just like, is it, does it stop you in your tracks because of how like bold and dynamic and like exciting it is?
Yes.
Right? Like that
Yeah.
kind of beauty. It's like, it was like, you know, brighter than Barbie, right?
Yes. Yes. And I love all of that, and I will always be that. And there's something else that like there's an intuition that's saying no, do a little bit different. So I've gone back. I have so much, like I just have so many colorways I was working with and just going back and forth, and I've decided on it.
Yay!
And I think. But now looking at Jackie's twigs, the reason I'm bringing this up is like, oh my God, I basically picked very similar. Like if I think about it. So this is the main color, right? And it's gonna be this, and this, and how hilarious is that?
The morphing continues.
The morphing continues. Like I swear I forgot, or at least some part of me, my conscious brain forgot. I had no remembering about this, and this has been for the past few days back and forth and thinking about this, and like I'm like, good, this one needs to relate to this one, and this one needs to relate to the, you know, like on all these different pieces, and look, I'm ending up with your twigs.
I mean, I think we all do this for each other. I think, you know, we've talked a lot about the process of inspiration, but you know, I did come down, I did look at it, and I was like, I should chuck my artist because that's the one that I want. And now that I realize that I already have it, it actually has like helped me greatly. Because I looked at it and I was like, I really love that color. Like the coveting has begun and the self-doubt has begun. But now I'm okay.
But you might even do it because you'll have all these colorways.
Yeah.
And
possible.
just do it again, and it'll, like Jackie Rose has been saying, right? Like things that match together, like all your knitting, it's not a bad idea if you've got the similar colors working, and then you can kind of put them on and stuff. So
yeah, it's a funny thing, you know. Someone asked me recently, how has your knitting practice changed since you guys started the podcast? And I, you know, it was a great reflective prompt. I don't know, do you think your knitting has changed since we started the podcast? How has it changed?
I'm so much more, like, believe it or not, I don't seem intentional, but like I was worse before. Like now I really am thinking about what I want, what do I want in my wardrobe, and how do I want it, and like, yeah, so many things have changed, I think, on that front.
I think, you know, this is a space where you and I really like reflect, and someone was like analyze like our knits. That's why the podcasts are 3+ hours, right? But I think in that taking the time to reflect, it allows us to know our desires better, or our preferences better, which I think is really beautiful. I think for me, it's changed my knitting in a couple of ways. One is like inspiration waterfall. Because you all are so generous, and because we get to participate and sort of share knitting experiences like knit-alongs, like the inspiration is pouring in all of the time. And the nice thing about this process is that there's more inspiration, and I also get a little bit of a structure because like I want to finish knits, because you guys help with the momentum of that. So it's really kind of a beautiful thing. Someone had asked me specifically, are you knitting things that are you knitting things because you know they're going to be aesthetically pleasing for the podcast? And I was like, no,
definitely not, because we clearly don't.
Def not.
Where you can see
like
it.
That sort of curation and editing, which is natural for some people, is completely unnatural for me. Yeah. Where I went with it though was thinking that, and this is me, right? This is just in my own internal headspace, has nothing to do with the wonderful community and tribe that we have, is that I feel almost apologetic sometimes, because I'm like, another raglan sweater.
I know.
Like another color combination. I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yes. But we have to be like, it's what we really want.
Look at my artist Sjal.
It's perfect. It's beautiful.
I love love it. I really do love it. This is the colorway Leave.
Oh God.
There's 3 Can you believe there's 3 colors here? I know it looks like 2, but there's actually
What?
3. So my main color is Leave, and then one of the contrast colors is Feliceline, and then deep in here is this like gray, a purple gray instead of Leave.
What?
Here?
Where?
Here.
Oh, in here.
In here, yeah. In here is Hiver. So this is where I am. And I have no idea when I get to the beautiful mosaic pattern whether or not I'm gonna be able, like, there's gonna be enough contrast for me to see it. But I'm just like trusting. I have a couple, I have a little while before I get there.
I see it. For sure.
Thank you. You're a good friend. You're my bestie.
Oh, that, no, I see it because if I would be a horrible friend if I couldn't see it and I encouraged you. So.
But look. Like, it's the same stuff.
I know.
Like, you know, when I sort of like just like chuckled because I was like, has the podcast changed my aesthetic? No,
Not
it just
enough.
made me double down and kind of apologize for the fact that it's just, it's like the same. It's not always the same stuff. You know, I am playing, but like, we love what we love and we like what we like. And I am really enjoying this. I'll try not to smack you with a needle.
This time it's like it's
not
not
a needle.
I was
It's not
like,
a soft.
Oh, that's like
it's
a really
not
tiny needle coming right at my eye.
Yeah. But
it's
you
really
know,
beautiful.
I'm so excited to feel yours, like as yours.
Oh yeah, I do have. You can have the tiniest little feel.
Little baby swatch.
I also have a design feature. Really, I forgot in parts. Like you can't even see it. It's fine. With my slip, I forgot to put it in the back because it changes a little bit. So a little bit it has the slips in the front, but who cares? I was like, I thought I had to pull it out. I'm like, no, it's fine.
Nah.
Anyway, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just like it'll be so fun to feel both versions.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So artists, whip.
Great.
Do you have anything else?
I just have very quickly, and I'm getting a little cold for once, so this is good timing. I'll just put on. I did finish my Varvinter.
So
it's
pretty.
still wet, so I was.
it's still wet.
I was trying to steam this with a new steamer, and didn't realize you can't. With this one, you can't turn it on its side, so it just like pour it all.
Oh my God, it's so cute. Let me move this chair.
Let me see. Now I've got jeans on underneath, which is not the best. Yeah, this is not looking as good as it does, but with a cute, I usually wear it with little, like, my little, what are the ones that you can't risk? Sheer Tex? The Sheer Tex tights? By the way, they are serious. They are seriously good. Oh yes, and then I put this thing on. Those really work. So the other day, I was just wearing this with my little, like,
I love this outfit.
I had my little crossbody.
Are you able to knit?
Yeah, that is honestly the first bit, the first thing. Yeah, I'm like,
I love that.
Cute,
It's so
isn't it?
cute.
It's like a really
It's so cozy.
cute, cozy. When I was wearing, it just felt like it's just you're being like literally like look, it's all over, it's all the way down, you know, and you feel like you're wearing some big blanket. And actually, I was.
I like the length choice that you made.
Thanks. I think I'm I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know. I think in some ways it got a little longer in the back than I might have decided on because of course with blocking and Nutiden, sometimes it can stretch and stuff. I have really considered making another one of this and even just get, like we talked about the last time, just keeping it as a
tunic length rather than a dress.
Yeah. But I also made a mistake when I was doing it. I don't know. It's so funny because as I was knitting it, I was like, you know, the one thing I would do is like, maybe I would do broken rib actually here instead of this like, whatever, like broken rib like here. Guess what? That's what I was supposed to do. That was, the designer had the same idea. I don't know how I didn't like think about that.
I love, we had a conversation recently when you were like, I have so many whips, and you know what happens when you have a lot of whips? You have to read the patterns.
Yeah. Right?
Yes, Carmen. You're a whole new you. You're
I'm
gauge
really
swatching You're reading patterns?
You
You're
asked me
modifying
if my
things?
knitting had changed. It has changed. Sometimes against my will. I was also saying to Jackie, like, I don't know how she does this. Like, I have got probably like 10 whips or something. I have a lot of cables for my Chow Goose, and I'm running low on my cables. That's telling me this is a real problem.
Well, that's where the podcast helps me.
Yeah,
Because
it gets you going.
It gets me going, and I do think about of my 10 whips, like what is priority number 1, and priority number 1. And the thing is, like with my whips, I love all of them for different reasons, and sort of the podcast does sort of eke 1 or 2 up the list because we've either been talking about it or like y'all are commenting on it, and that makes me be like, oh, that one, I want to get to the end of that one. So I actually do think that the number of finished objects has significantly been impacted by the podcast. I have one more FO. I can leave the whips, but there's one more FO that I do want to show.
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is total sponge knitting moment, and being inspired by Carmen. So last episode, Carmen knit this like beautiful hat, this colorwork hat with like a triple folded brim out of Melly Knit's delightful advent calendar, and I was not able to negotiate my way into the hat, which is perfect because I was like, well, I'm gonna figure out my iteration of this.
Yes.
So it's very tall.
It's very
I'm
tall,
not
but I
sure
like
if I'm
it.
cool enough.
I think you're cool enough.
But makes me
it's adorbs.
happy. Like, talk about something that is just pure joy. This is my pure joy hat.
It's gorgeous.
So,
it's so beautiful.
Is this on straight? I don't even know.
It's
Anyhow, this is a modified Alpine bloom hat by Caitlin Hunter. There's a triple brim, and this is knit out of Sonder Yarn Co. A couple different bases. I'll talk through it. So one of the things that I loved about Carmen's hat was the triple brim, and also the feeling of fingering plus mohair. So what I decided with mine is that I would do the brim in a combination of fingering and mohair, and then I would do the like hat part using a different base. So
That's so
man,
pretty.
it takes a long time, these brims.
Yeah,
I just
they
say
do.
they like I was
They
like,
go
this is basically a
forever.
sweater.
Yeah.
So I did not gauge swatch. I just started playing with different kinds of mohair. So I forgot to bring the individual mohairs, but the pink is Rise and Shine from Sonder Yarn Co. That I in the Sunday morning 4-ply, and then I had 2 different kinds of pink mohair. So one of the mohairs was Free Spirit, which is this more like magenta-y one. It was the same one that I used in this, and I adored that color. And then I had this like highlighter neon coral, which is actually called Lipstick from Frankie Gray Fibers, and I couldn't wait to cast it on, and there wasn't any halo. Well, I had my leftover halo here, but there wasn't a halo available at that time that was a color match for Rise and Shine.
I thought there was no halo to the mohair.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
sorry.
Gotcha.
So I was playing with like, okay, what color is the pink gonna look like if I hold Free Spirit, like 1 strand or 2 strands? Then I held the neon coral, like you can see just the coral here, and then I ended up holding 1 strand of the Sunday morning 4-ply with 1 strand of this like darker Free Spirit and 1 strand of the neon coral to try and get like a color match for the part that that is actually outside. So
I love this.
here's like my testing. Here's where I ended up like, okay, this is the color that I want. And then I had the idea of wanting to have like a little line along the brim in just the Free Spirit because I really feel like I like this. This is my favorite kind of pink.
Yes.
This part is, so the like taupey beigey is flannel in Sunday Morning DK held single. And then the contrast color is Sunday Morning 4-ply held double. And can you see that I held the Free Spirit mohair?
Yes, it changes
in
the
the
color.
flowers to sort of create a little bit of color.
I totally see it, and I love it. It's so pretty.
This was very fun to knit. It was very satisfying. Like, it was like, I just want to get through the ribbing so that I can get to the color work motif. I am a little bit off gauge. How I decided on the sizing actually was there's multiple sizes in the pattern with a certain number of stitch counts. And I knew from like my hat bender how many stitches I need in the ribbing in order to get it to fit my head. And because I knew I was going to do this like big triple brim, I was like not so concerned about the hat part in terms of making decisions. And that's how I've ended up with like the tallest hat in the world. I'm like, it's a little no-me, but I think it's okay.
It's awesome.
It was so fun though.
It's so cute.
It makes me so happy.
It is so
I'm like,
cute.
I don't even know if I look cool in it. I just
look
like, it just
great.
makes me happy. And this like fingering mohair combination is like super fun.
It's super cute.
And if you want like a satisfaction knit, you know. What I will say is that I wasn't super off gauge in terms of, so the original pattern is knit in Sport. Melissa put some kits together in DK because the DK is like this one spun 2-ply that has all different kinds of, that can be knit at different gauges. So I again have to credit Melissa for this knit along with Carmen because I mean, this pattern came out a while ago and I looked at it and I thought that it was really beautiful, but in the sample, the brim is different. And so Melissa changed up the brim and she knit a version of it. And when I saw it with that brim, I was like, oh, I want to knit it. And then when Carmen had her triple brim, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. But my row gauge is a lot bigger, hence the height. But I did also look at some Ravelry notes. I was just not reading the pattern and hadn't gone into Ravelry where people removed certain parts of the motif in order to make it shorter because I do think that like it's very tall is something that a bunch of people sort of said. It's tall.
Really cute. It's tall.
It's tall.
It's cute. You know what? Like I was at the mall the other like a couple days ago, and that is, you were saying the cool kids are wearing it like this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's true.
I'm petite. I could take the extra like 10 inches, but you know, like I don't have this much brain space, I will say. Part of the reason I went with sort of DK and 4-ply held double was because one of the things I remembered about your hat was its sticking upness.
Yeah.
Right. And I think part of that sticking upness was like the number of floats that you had because there were so many different colors. And so what I felt was if I had done it in 4-ply or if I had done like just 4-ply, like a sport or a fingering like in the pattern, that it wouldn't have this sort of structure like it is even floppy as it is, which I don't mind at all.
It's super cute. I love it. It's super cute. Look at you.
Alpine blue. Like I'm just like, it's impossible to not be a little bit more cheerful wearing this hat. It's just impossible.
100%.
Like
you could wear that hat, put the Savasana socks on, and knit your twigs and be in a like blissful state.
Yeah. Yay.
I love it.
Do you want to try it on?
Yes, of course. Always.
It's probably going to be a little small for your head.
I can't actually like duck down. That's a little too big for me, I think.
Here's what I'm thinking as I'm looking at you, like, I could adjust the way that the fold is folded.
I was thinking that you could always make the fold bigger, right?
Bigger. I mean, it reminds me actually, I was scrolling Instagram and I saw Sari Nordlund has a beanie called the Robin beanie that has a triple brim and her brim is like massive. Like my
so warm.
typical brim is like this. Like this is my typical brim height.
Beautiful.
But I do think that I don't mind the giant brim. They increase the brim. I mean, it's a little comical, but I feel like that's part of the joy.
It's cute.
It's so warm.
It's so warm.
It's so warm. When
It's
we had
cozy.
our like minus 20 degree days, I was like, this is the hat.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This
Like
is the hat.
these hats, like the triple brim, really. I do wear it, but every time, I have to say, it's still my muscle burra.
Yeah.
Like that one's 80% of the time.
Yeah, in low mileage wool by Crux Fibers.
Ooh, which actually there is some available,
Yeah.
I think. Like
Move quick.
Yeah.
Move
It's
quick.
different.
It
It's a
went.
different blend. For some reason I was watching back last year around this time because it popped up and I was like, oh, look at us
Remember
a year
our
ago.
podcast?
Remember us? And I happened to be talking about the muscle burr at that time. And so
Yeah.
it took less than 2 skeins, but that was much higher alpaca.
It was a different blend than what's available
it was mostly
right now.
alpaca with a little bit of Holland.
But low mileage wool I think is, well, when I checked on Saturday, there is still some available in the shop. It's absolutely beautiful. And I am eyeing, there's a single ply Lopi at a DK weight that is Scotland and alpaca.
That's what I was looking at.
And I was looking at it and I was like, sweater, accessory, sweater, accessory, sweater, accessory. Also aware that I have lots of really beautiful low mileage wool already in stash. And so I'm trying to resist, but you know.
I know. God,
We got a lot. We got a lot. I'm like, share the joy, Jackie. Share the
Share
joy.
the joy.
Let
Other
people
people.
have the low mileage wool. Because there was a colorway
you
called,
have.
like, that was Frost and Ray. That was like the iciest, most perfect gray. And I didn't get to the shop update on time because I was working. And when I went to the shop update, it was gone. And I was like, I had a moment where I was like, no. And then I was like,
okay.
you're good.
That
You
means
are good on
others
cool
will
gray.
have it.
Let other people have the icy cool gray. Like, how many gray sweaters can one have? As many as I'm willing to knit.
Because we're going to do it. We'll let you know. Check in with, 10 years from now.
So yeah, that's probably where we'll leave you today. We'd love to hear if you're thinking about maybe joining us for a Year of Junko, whether that's joining us with the Twigs, but anything, right? Like it's an open invitation that I hope that we'll be in conversation with, and we'll be in conversation with in the community around sort of like, is if you are somebody who also resonates with her designs but are daunted, what are the ways that we can still like drink from the like creative well that is Junko Okamoto, and also fulfill our needs for what we love to knit and what we feel comfortable knitting and what's joyful for us to knit. So I expect that, as usual, my queue is going to completely change once this episode goes out in the world. And
I know.
I hope that you are having a joyful start to the year.
Yeah. Yes. Happy New Year.
I don't know
haven't
how we
seen
got to
you
the end of
since-
January. I can't remember when we last podcasted, but
Yeah, it was the end of. It was before
December?
Christmas. It was the week before Christmas.
yeah, something like that. So we will be back in March,
Yes.
right?
That's right.
Because this beautiful being is going to go and do her yoga teacher training, which I'm so excited for.
I have, Jackie knows this, but like yoga came into my life more than 20 years ago. And teacher training has always been something that I've been interested in doing. Like whether I actually teach, I don't even know. Like, but just the
Famous last words,
I
baby.
know, sure, but like I'm like even just the deep dive into it. But there was never a program that resonated enough. Like it was like I remember a few times I got very close, but I felt myself like trying to make it work. Like going, okay, that'll be all right, or eh. And then this one just popped up and it was like, I don't even understand. It's across the country. What am I, but it was like, oh, this one with this person who I don't even know, but I just knew I think.
Well, you scoped
Check
her
in
out.
and-
We'd
I
talked about it.
scope her
You
out after,
sort
but
of-
it was like, I
yeah.
just looked at her
You knew.
and I was like, I want you to teach me, please. You.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you. Running yoga teacher trainings is, I mean, I feel very lucky that I love pretty much everything that I do for like work. Like I'm like, I can't believe people aren't paying me for this.
I know.
Thank you, OHIP. But you know, I'm so excited to see your journey with it because I've not yet met somebody in, you know, whether I think about the trainings that I've participated in or the trainings that I facilitated where the process didn't get them closer to a more loving and like authentic version of themselves and like, hello, she's already amazing. And I'm like, how's it gonna get better? It's gonna get better.
Yeah, I think,
You know?
even just reading the books and stuff, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
there's just such a peacefulness that comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll have more to say.
Yeah. So we'll see you in a little bit. Keep us updated on your needles, please.
Yes.
And you be you.
Yay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.